Hey guys, what's up out there, all you Mandela Effectians? Boy, do we have a special treat for you. We've got some great special guests coming on tonight, some of the heavy hitters in the Mandela Effect. Uh, just to name a few that have been here before with us, we've got Alice in Mandela Land. We've got Corey, Seeker of Truth, back with us. And we have Shammy. Hey, Shammy.
Hey.
And of course, I've got my special co-host, Teresa, with me. And
hey, everyone.
Hey, and it's no surprise. We also have Marlena here with us. She's going to explain, hopefully explain what's going on with the Mandela. She's been tracking it since 1982. Is that right, Marlena?
That's right.
Wow, this is going to be an incredible ride. I hope you've all got your popcorn with you, because I sure do. And I've got my 3D glasses, or imaginary 3D glasses. So buckle up, as one of the other YouTubers says.
Did you get that from Justice League and brought it home?
Yeah. Hold on. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, Marlena. Sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Hey, but we're all excited. Okay. So Marlena, speaking of the three Marlenas, you were telling me earlier, and we had like a chat that was like really long all day. We've been chatting all day about it. But one of the effects you had, you experienced yourself, your own name changing. Can you explain about that?
Oh my gosh. I'm still going through that, by the way, Brian. I've been going through this since, when's the first, what my name changes? January? Yeah. Well, that's my daughter who's going through this whole thing with me. She's gone to, okay, my name keeps changing back to my married name, which I was divorced back in 2010, right? And it's happening constantly. And my daughter went to the bank, recently, and they were trying to say, well, this person don't even exist. And my daughter was getting quite upset with them, saying, you guys know her. This is my mother. You guys know her, right? She brings my checks for me every week down to, deposit them. And then they took out the stack of checks, the stubs, bank stubs. And on there, it was even changed. As my bank card itself still says like my name, it is what it is now. Right. So I go to motor vehicle. Same thing happened like when I was registering my other daughter's vehicle. And then they're like, hey, you had no activity for at least 10 years. And I said, well, yes, I did. I even showed them here. I pay my registration every month, stuff like that. And they couldn't find me in the system. So she laughed. The funny thing is, she goes, geez, it's like you're dead or something, like as a joke. Me and my daughter look at each other. We started laughing, right? Because we know what's going on, right? So that had changed. And the reason why this all changed, and this is kind of sound kind of crazy, but you guys are used to this kind of stuff, right? Is I had friends come up to me and tell me about my funeral. So ever since then, my name change has changed constantly. This happened back in March when my friends told me about my funeral back in 2010. Hi, beautiful awakening. Sorry, I seen somebody said that in the chat. I usually don't get to see the chat. I love it. I did get my death certificate. I found all that stuff out. I had died supposedly in a car accident. So with this stuff happening, I do have people that are in my Discord chat room that have witnessed a lot of the stuff with me, which they're supposed to go into to you guys' YouTube chat so that they could clarify if I forget to say something to you guys. But the shitty thing about having your name changes, I had a hard time going over border recently. Because my driver's license wasn't matching my native status card.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was 2 different names. So I had to go to the nearest reserve and get my name. Like they had to still leave my married name on there, but in brackets, she wrote my maiden name because of the fact that she knew me. And she knew for sure this is me. This is the real person, right? I had to show my divorce papers to the bank so they could change my bank account information over. I had to bring it to motor vehicle. I also found out, like, even at the pharmacy, they couldn't even find me at the pharmacy when I was getting my stuff for, you know, my prescription. They had no idea. Recently, my daughter calls the dentist, and I knew I have an appointment here in November, like at the end of November, and they couldn't find my name. They told my daughter, she just said it herself, they told her that I don't exist. And then, so when she said this to me, I'm like, wait a minute. I was just there a couple months ago. This is why I made the appointment for November, right? So she said, yes, she exists. You guys know her. And she gave them both names. Neither one was there. So then I called, right? And you know what name they had it under? My mother's maiden name. And I only used my mother's maiden name when I was 17 years old. I used it for maybe 2 months. And it was, you know, because I was mad at my father, and, you know, I changed my name for like 2 months, not legally or anything. I just did it. But they had my name under that. It's pretty odd.
Well, like, so they were able to fix the situation, but it was still weird, right?
No, I'm still going through it, Brian. I do change. I do fix it every other week. I do change it and fix it.
Oh, wow.
And it happens like, Lala, it happens like on a weekly basis with my name change. Sure, it's up to you.
Anyone have any questions for Miss Marlena right now? So a lot of people are asking right now and raising eyebrows at CERN. Can you give us some light on that? Is CERN behind the Mandela effect that you think? Could it be a culprit of what's going on?
I think it may be a tool. But I kind of believe that we're doing it ourselves. I think that because we are energy beings, I think that we are placing certain Mandela effects in areas that are personal to us. Like, say, okay, you know, the Luke, I am your father thing. I know that's an old one, but I'm going to just bring it up for a reason. Was maybe one of you guys, that was a big movie for you. And so you changed it to wake yourself up at this point in your life. You know what I mean? Because with me, I had my guitar name change. My guitar used to be a Yamaha. I have proof. I have all kinds of residuals. I have proof. The only thing different, and it still looks like the same guitar. My mother had gotten a personal pick guard put on there for me that has flowers on it. And that's still on there, you know. But, you know, there's people, hopefully they're in the chat room. They were on live with me when our friend Matthew came over to see the guitar, because he was here. He's seen my guitar. He used to play with me all the time. He used to, you know, tune it for me and all this other stuff. But he came over to see the name change. He couldn't believe it. Then he put it down. He's like, no, I can't. He goes, like it freaked him out too much, you know. But I have a lot of really personal things. But yeah, I think CERN is just a tool.
Well, what was the ME that you said that woke you out of your sleep?
Oh,
what was the big one?
When I was a little girl, when we came here, I seen the McDonald's name change. It used to be McDonald's, and I did a video on this quite a few years ago, and I was a laughing stock of YouTube. You know, this was like 10 years ago. I did a video, and people were like, you know, something's wrong with you. You know, I said no, it was McDonald's. I remember. So I thought maybe it was a Canadian thing. I thought that, oh, okay, we're in Canada now, because I was in the United States, right? I was in Brooklyn, which there was 52 states, right? Now there's only 50. I remember those two things, and those are the two main things that totally, hey, there's something going on, you know? So yeah, it was the McDonald's thing.
Speaking of like history changes, we have Ty here with us. Ty, are you back? Is Ty back?
He doesn't know.
Ty's not here.
He has introduced me to the Lindbergh baby, where supposedly the Lindbergh baby was lost and never found, or something like that, and now history's changed.
She was right. She was found in my reality, alive, mind you.
Found alive. Wow.
Yeah.
I'd like to step in here for a second just to say
Sure,
that.
Corey, go ahead.
Marlene, like, I'm from Canada, and I worked at McDonald's for geez, must have been 7 years when I was a kid. And in Canada, it was a big deal in the small town I live in to get a McDonald's. So it was never, to me, McDonald's. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying how
That you
it
remember.
seems
Yeah.
that each of us have a different change. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's what's so beautiful about it. And I find it very exciting. And same with when we do our ceremonies here, our medicine men and stuff. They say it's a very exciting time to be alive right now because we're witnessing something because we're supposed to at this time.
yeah, exactly.
I do run into people that remember MAC.
Yes.
But then there's people that remember the MAC.
Yes, I remember MAC vaguely. It's weird how it's in the back of your mind like that. I do remember MAC. Adam
That's
has
why
a question.
That's why they
Adam,
named it the Big Mac. It was
Big
after
Mac.
McDonald's. Yep.
After McDonald's. Adam had a question here. Does anyone remember the names of the other 2 states? And
Yes.
You do?
Yes, I do. One, it was East Virginia.
East Virginia.
And Baja was the other one.
Oh.
It was near
Completely
California.
opposite.
Oh yeah, Baja, California. Yeah.
Yeah.
Baja, California. Yeah, but it's spelled Baja. Yeah.
It's spelled Baja. That's why I said it that way.
Hey, party puppy. What's up, Mikey?
But the other one was East Virginia, and you can find residuals on that, by the way. There's people that even wrote songs about being in East Virginia.
But what about the residual for McDonald's? It seems like we can't seem to find it anymore. And I mean, there's little things here and there. I think.
Yeah, there's a few people that found it.
I found it about Brian. Remember I gave it to you?
Yeah.
McDonald's. Yeah, I don't know where it's at, but it's somewhere in your somewhere in your computer.
Well, it's funny that Eddie Murphy did a movie called, and he worked at a McDowell's. Yeah. It's kind of funny how that worked out. You know, like I don't ever remember Mac, but they made a movie based on it was MAC. So
well, here's another one that
he's right.
He's right, and I have another thing here because you mentioned Eddie Murphy. I'm thinking immediately of Dr. Dolittle, but now it's spelled Dr. Dolittle.
Oh my gosh!
No way.
Yeah, that bothers me.
Dr. Dolittle is.
It is O-O.
They took the O out of Dr. Dolittle, and now it's Dr. Dolittle.
No.
So I think what they're doing, right, you guys, is the words that are changing, they're changing them to the way we pronounce them. So now if you look at stuff, there is no double consonants anymore. Where before, when I used to write travelers, it was with 2 L's. Remember? Now it's with 1 L. And it was a rule, an English rule. And I know this, you guys, only because I had to learn English. My original language is Micmac. So I had to learn how to spell in English. And I remember that a short A or whatever the vowel was in front of your consonant, you had to have 2 if you had a 1 following it. Remember? Right? So now all these words that used to have double consonants no longer do. Did you guys notice that?
Well, there's other examples, you know, like dilemma is what did it for me because I remember pronouncing dilemma, dilemna. You know, that one did it for me.
Same here. Yep.
So that's interesting that you're Micmac because like right across the river we have a reservation that's Micmac and
where do you live?
I live in Canada. I'm just
but where? I live in Canada too. Where do you live?
I'm in New Brunswick, like
me too.
Hamilton.
Me too.
You're in
I live in Hillground. Yes. Ooh. I'm north of you and near me. I live 4 hours away from you.
Okay.
Yeah, over in Hamilton, you're talking about Rusticush.
Yeah.
Those are my relatives.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. Those are my cousins. I go there all the time.
Small world. Small
How
world.
cool is that?
Yeah, you guys should totally connect.
Wow.
Though I'm not French though. I'm not French.
Hey.
I only speak a little bit, but that's so awesome. You know what's funny is you and I have been talking all this time. We always talk in side chats on all these places,
and we
never talked about where we're from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you know.
That's so wild. Yeah. Wow.
Mandela Effect bringing us together.
Definitely. You know what? Next time I'm up that way, we should go to Tim's. Go for a Tim's, man.
Nothing like a coffee, eh?
That's right. I got my tea at my Tim's tea. Wow. I was even just about to say something, but you totally got my mind off it.
How cold is it?
So
Give us an idea. How cold is it? How cold is it up there?
It's freezing cold.
Yeah, we just got snow. We just got snow finally there this week.
Yeah.
What happened? Let me ask you, since you guys are so close to the North Pole, do you remember it being a solid piece of ground, or was it like watery like it is now?
No, it was solid.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and not only that, I'm also a pilot, so I see stuff from above. You know, I see things changing. I see land changing, and you know, for me to drive to Nova Scotia, the province below me, it used to take me 6 hours to drive my daughter to where she goes to university. And now it only takes me 4 hours. So that did change. When I went to New York, and I've done the New York trip over 100 times, you know, a lot of my family still live over there. I was going to my cousin's wedding in October. And so I was plotting it out, my drive, when I was down in Connecticut, because that's where my stepmother and my other sister lives and stuff. And I was there, and she looked at the computer. She says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm mapping out how I'm going to get over to Long Island, you know, for the wedding." And she goes, "Why are you taking such a long way?" Because I was going to go on to the ferry, because that's the only way you can get over to there is to take the ferry. And she said, "Why don't you just drive over? It's attached." I said, "What?" It was never attached in my life.
Wow.
Now it's so wild. Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
I know
Nova Scotia too is like.
I know from Hamilton to Miramichi, used to take about almost 2.5 hours, and now you can get there with under 2 hours.
I know.
I'm a slow driver. So that's crazy.
It is. It's like we're shrinking or something, or just moving around somewhat, eh? So, yeah.
No, well, Brian put up yesterday about the map of the world, and we can all see that what we remember, it's like South America's way over to the side.
It is. It's too far over, isn't it?
I have residue.
It looks like it's gonna get detached. I kind of do too.
It's crazy. South America, I remember like the middle of it used to line up with the tail of Florida, like the very tip, like Miami would line up with I think it's not Venezuela. I think it's like one of those French Guiana, one of those little smaller countries it would line up with.
Yeah. Well, here's one for you. I went to Haiti for the earthquake. I'm a disaster relief person.
Oh, awesome.
Thank you. I was in Haiti for the whole thing, right? So I was there for 3 months. And Haiti was on the right-hand side. When you look at the map, it was on the right-hand side, and the Dominican was on the left-hand side. Now, Haiti is on the left-hand side, and Dominican's on the right. And I have picture proof of my travel, because we couldn't fly, because, you know, we couldn't drive through the country to get to Haiti because of the earthquake. You couldn't drive through. So we had to drive down the coast. And so I took pictures all the way down the coast to the bottom of the coast to get to Haiti. And now it's not like that. So I don't know if you guys are aware of that or not, that change. A girlfriend of mine just went to Haiti during the summer. And she's the one that said, yeah, when I went to Haiti, she showed me pictures. I said, "What, the same, right?" Because she was showing us the map and stuff. And I said, "No, Haiti's on the other side." You know, but it's not anymore. It's changed over.
Well, does anybody remember? I'd like to know maybe if anyone remembers that land, what it was called to the west of Australia. That's an interesting one.
That was New Zealand for me.
New Zealand was to the west of Australia?
Yeah, it was. And I know for sure because I was there.
Well, here's what other people are saying, too. I don't remember it being 2 islands now like it is. It was like 1 island, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was one for me also.
And now it's 2 islands, and it's off to the southeast of Australia?
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
some people in the chat who are from there, so they should be
Yes.
able to comment on that.
I didn't know if they were connected, but I knew they were a lot closer than what it shows now.
What about how about Denmark, you guys? Denmark looks all broken up to me. It wasn't like that before.
No, and also with I'm pretty sure you guys went over everything that we're talking about before, but like the Italy almost pretty much touching Sicily now is very odd.
Oh yeah,
I remember there was a huge gap there before.
It was like a big boot, and now it's not. Doesn't look that way.
Yeah, now it's like just a small heel, and it's almost touching Sicily.
Yeah.
Well, just an interesting question that a lot of people that deny flat Earth ignore is that as we're supposedly moving through the cosmos, why do we see the same constellations every time?
Are you a flat earther, Brian?
I am leaning in that direction. I can't prove it either way unless I fly over and take a selfie.
I am a flat earther. I was born and raised that way. Most Native people are, because this is the way it is.
Because it's the truth.
It is the truth. And we were just talking about the North Pole. Well, the North Pole is there in my reality, in our map, in our flat map, which we're doing now. We've been doing our ceremony for the last 2 weeks. And while they were here, I was asking everyone to help with this new map, like so other people could see what I was talking about. In the very center, there's 4 pieces of land. And then there's a middle part, which is a mountain, okay? So these 4 pieces of land have a ridge of mountains, okay? So when explorers used to go there, they used to think that they were seeing just one piece, when actually every time they went around, they were just seeing mountains that were similar to the ones next to it. So there are 4 pieces, and there's 26 other pieces around what they physically show what we are. There's 26 other ones that are connected with our flat Earth. Sorry, I know this ain't about that.
No, you're fine.
No, that's good. I mean, since all the craziness, I've been open to stuff I didn't think I would.
Well, if you're going to be awake, right? You might be all the way awake. And I noticed that Mandela people never heard of flat Earth before they got into Mandela, and then the opposite. A lot of flat Earth people I know didn't know about Mandela until they learned about flat Earth.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, like, what's Antarctica got to do with everything? Because there's something going on there with.
It's the gateway. It's the gateway over to all these other places. They don't want everybody to know that other people don't live the way they make us live. You know, and I was talking to Brian about this earlier, you know, fear is their currency. It's not money.
No.
They can make all the money they want. They're the ones that owns the machinery. You know, it's fear. If they keep everybody in fear, they'll keep us all in this little bubble to keep us doing what they need us to do for them. You know, they're harvesting our part of the earth, which is very noticeable if you look at anything. Grand Canyon, you know, you look at all these places that are just dug right up, you know. So those places change too, Mandela-wise, by their shapes and stuff, right? I'm sorry. I always get off track, so I apologize, Brian.
No, you're fine. You're fine. That's
no. Yeah, no. It's so hard because we all have a strong belief in stuff, and like I could go on and on about like with all the animals dying and stuff too. It really bugs me.
But look at the opposite side. They're not really dying. There's other animals popping up. So it's like we have all these animals that we never had in our realities. Well, I didn't anyway. I mean, we found over 50 animals alone in the last 5 years that we've never had. Like the panda ant. You know, we never had that stuff. I would have loved that. You know, because I like insects. I think they're cool. That what is it called? The billbeak bird, or whatever it's called. That humongous bird that looks like, you know, is tall, looks same size as a man. I had never seen something like that, and I know my animals.
No, but I mean,
I've traveled.
I mean, you're near like Nova Scotia, so before we never used to have great white sharks up there.
No,
and now we do. Like,
and the whales.
I think that the temperature is changing in the water, obviously.
Do you think that we're shifted over to somewhere? Or do you think that things here are changing? Because that's a big question. in my reality, with the history of wars, I didn't have the wars you guys had, but I did meet up with people that remember what I do. You know, Brian, you know Sam. He goes on Taryn's show quite a bit.
Yeah.
Sam remembers where I used to, where my reality. He remembers that. He remembers that because he remembers these different shifts where the different types of people he met. So, like, it's interesting to think, you know, is our consciousness changing or moving somewhere? Because everything would change with you because everything has its own conscious. Even if it has a purpose, it has a conscious. This is, well, not a conscious as in being self-aware, but as a conscious as something that's there for a reason. You know, like a table is there to serve you kind of deal. You know what I mean, right? Like all the trees and stuff, everything would come with us if we were shifting. Everything is a vibration. You know, we're taught as a very, very young that, you know, we are spirits having a human experience, not the other way around. You know, we're just experiencing this and we're all vibrations. We're not this solid piece of meat, you know, the meat suit thing, you know, we're not that.
Yeah, we're not.
Alice, do you have anything to add to that? Because I was thinking about it too.
I have a lot to add to everything. I was just going through the chat because I know there was a lot of comments. And I was sorry, I was trying to deal with.
Oh, somebody said they saw a big chicken.
Big chicken.
In real life?
Yeah, we've seen them.
They're bigger than humans.
Did you ever hear of a chicken duck?
I want to eat one, Brian.
Yes?
You did?
I want to eat one. I love chicken.
No, you all want to see these big chickens?
Hey, Brian, have you ever heard of a chicken duck?
No, I have not.
Okay, my girlfriend, her name is Flo. She lives down in Florida, and she said, hey, you guys ever hear of a chicken duck? And we're like, no. And here on her street, there's chicken ducks. I've never heard of a chicken duck, you guys, ever. So when you look up chicken ducks, they've always been around here. But she lives in that area. She would know if there's a chicken duck.
That is so fake. That is so fake.
It looks fake.
It is fake.
Well, I want to know if anyone has ever seen any of these in real life.
But there are big ones. There are big ones. There are big ones that like that.
Is it the one from China that looked like Donald Trump?
How about this one?
You guys are so funny.
We have a kitty caterpillar. We have a kitty caterpillar. Well, let me show you. I'm gonna get rid of these.
And by the way, I do know that a silkie is a chicken. I think Brian brought that up a while ago.
Yeah.
Silkies are like a
they're
chickens.
They're pretty. They're pretty.
Yeah.
Like they're the pretty ones that you want to like. You're like, oh.
We
We
raised them here
in Portland who had a couple silkies.
But I think it might be like, I'm not saying that it's just on the West Coast because I know that there's chickens over on the East Coast too, but on the West Coast, I do know that there are silkies because I've seen them
here
at the Tractor Supply store. You guys know where you go and get your little chicks. I've seen them. So
yeah, we have them. We raised them. The eggs are really tiny, but we raised them here because they're so cute.
Oh, they are super cute, and they're usually black, right?
No, I had a white one and a brown one.
Oh.
Yeah, the white ones are so cute.
Has always been black, so maybe
really.
It's just, yeah.
Oh, you're gonna love the white ones. Check them out. Google it, and you'll see how cute they are. They're beautiful. There's even little brown ones.
What's it called? What's it called?
The silkies. The silky chicken.
Silky chicken.
Okay,
they look like fluffy dogs.
Has anyone seen egg caterpillars or kitty caterpillars?
Yeah, we go over this stuff all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, they're funny. Have you ever heard of the hammer worm or hammerhead worm?
No, I have not.
I've actually.
What's up, guys?
Hi, Mates.
Bird. That looks like Big Bird right there.
See, those are silkies. Aren't they cute?
Oh my!
Are they new from the effect?
No,
I don't know. We've
known
always
about
raised
these
them,
for a
so
long
I don't know.
time.
All right.
Some people haven't heard of them though. Really.
I've never heard of them, but some
Aren't they
people have.
beautiful?
I think that it's like
Silky
if
chicken.
you're not around
Is that
the
Meeks?
chickens,
Yeah.
What's
you
up,
don't know about
Brian?
it.
Hi, Meeksy.
Right.
Happy
Exactly.
birthday, yo.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks
happy
so much.
birthday, Meeks. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I'm sorry I
Thanks,
missed it, my
guys.
Mandister.
Oh, it's
My
fine,
Mandister. Happy birthday.
Hey, okay, man, sister.
Happy birthday,
Oh my
Mandister.
I didn't know
I
if you
don't.
seen it, but I posted on Bible and other changes there. Big happy birthday to you.
Aw, you guys rock! I just saw that video that y'all worked on that Brian posted. I just saw that
Yeah,
a couple hours ago. Oh my
yeah,
gosh! I did a
Br-
little dance in the basement of my apartment building with excitement. I
Yeah.
was like, oh.
Yeah, Brian was trying to put together a big collage of things, and I'm not very good with my computer, so I don't know. I don't think I got in there, so I was just like, I'll post something on Chris's site. So anyway, yeah, that was
Corey,
awesome.
it
There it
was
is.
pretty much the most amazing birthday present like I ever got in the history of my existence. So
That's awesome.
I think it was awesome.
Yeah, Teresa gave me the
Aw,
idea
I
for
love
the
the
birthday
Bible
cake.
cake.
Oh, is that the video?
Is
Is
there a
that the
Bible?
video?
It's a
There's a
Bible
Bible
birthday
on top
cake.
of the cake?
Yes.
Yeah, so you can eat it. You can eat the scroll. It's like
Yeah.
Bible verse.
But,
That was a real Bible.
Sorry.
That would be so awesome.
That's awesome.
That's awesome, Brian.
Back to the chat. Where are we? Okay, everybody's saying happy birthday to
Aw.
me. Yay.
Oh, thanks,
Of course.
guys.
Is there
I'm glad you guys will
anyone?
still hang out with me, even though I'm an old woman who's 30 years old.
Hey now,
Hey,
some of us are older than that,
Yeah,
and
let's not let's
would
not
not
talk
like to
about
be
that,
called
dude.
old.
Oh,
Little
That was just a
lady,
state of mind.
little lady.
we all wish we were 30 again.
Age is it's
No,
just
I'm
a
good.
number that they have given us to make
That's
us
right.
think that
That's right.
we are a
That there's a
certain
stipulation.
thing. Yeah,
Yep.
that this is where we are in life, and that
Keep
this
a
is what we
track
need
of
to be
us, right?
doing, and this is where we should
Yeah.
be.
This is
and,
what you have to buy,
Yeah,
Alice.
age is just
And here's your
You're
social
40, you have to
security
buy
number,
this.
guys,
It's
because
all
you
BS,
gotta have that.
and anything with numbers, it's just forget it. It's time,
Yeah.
all of it,
Yep.
just forget it. Anything with
Yep.
numbers, just
So was there any questions in the chat that anyone had for any of us,
Let
or
me see.
like
Well, I was
what's
wondering,
going on?
Teresa was telling me about her freaky day. I had a freaky day myself, you guys.
Oh, a
Yeah.
Freaky
Yes.
Friday?
Yes, I received in the mail a women's magazine called Bizarre.
how bizarre.
Out of nowhere, I don't
How
order this stuff,
bizarre,
but
how bizarre.
Somebody's messing with you, dude.
yeah. Here's a Bizarre magazine I received with Angelina Jolie on it, and then guess what's on the back?
Look at
The
that.
Resident Evil 4 eyes. Look at that.
Hey, what?
Oh.
Yeah, I see it.
Come
That's
on.
ridiculous.
Uh-oh.
Come on.
So are you going to
That's
talk about
weird.
your phone call, Brian?
I'm over here blushing. Yeah, that happened to me
That's
today, and I
weird.
received a call from 911 about
What?
a girl
Listen
named.
to this. It's funny.
You got to pay attention. The AI does talk to you like this sometimes. Sage was calling about her big mama. So let's hear this call. I'll have to beep out my phone number so it doesn't like give out my phone number part. But
Oh, you don't want everyone to call you, Brian?
huh?
Oh. So you don't want everyone to call you? Gosh.
Yeah, he does.
I don't know. Like,
I'm just gonna blow your text up after the
people
show.
talk about being personally things on our shows. But check this out.
Okay, this is Lowndes County 911.
Yeah.
Do you know a Sage?
Sage? I don't know. I don't actually. No, I'm sorry, I don't. I don't know how you guys got my number for that. I don't know Sage.
Okay, hold on just a second. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. This is
I had a
nice.
female call and wanted me to call this number, 292-6781.
For what?
And for me to tell Big Mama that Sage needed her.
Big Mama.
What?
I have no idea who that is.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's all.
Okay, all right, thank
Big
you.
Mama.
Wait. All right, check this out. I call back, and this is the response I get. So watch this. I call the dispatch office.
I'm gonna ask him something.
Mounds County Dispatch, may I help you?
Yes, hey, I received a phone call earlier from you guys. I'm not sure what's up with that. If it was just a random misunderstanding of the numbers.
Yes, sir, I'm the one that called you.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what that was about. If I'm being targeted or what, because I'm not sure what that's about.
So we just had a phone call, and then we got, I think she might have had her numbers mixed up, or it could have been a prank call to us. But I just have to call what she gave me.
Okay, very well could have been a prank call.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm the operator that you spoke to. And notice we can't, what it is it's a call from a cell phone that no longer has service. So we think they have called several times and it has been kids on the other end. So, if she gives me something like that, then we have to call. So.
Yes, of course. It sounds fishy, and,
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure, nothing else is going to happen. I had a funny story happen to me earlier. I had a female Bazaar magazine sent to my address. That was funny.
She's like, so fucking what? Oh, sorry.
She didn't give no names. All she said was Big Mama, so, and her name, or another female's name. So, unless she calls you or something, but you're good.
Big Mama.
Big Mama.
I'm not sure if it worked. And it was mentioning Big Mamas. Like, I don't know what they were talking about.
Okay. Yes,
anyway, I was making sure.
Okay.
Thanks. Have a good evening.
You too.
All right, that was just too funny, you guys. I'm sorry, I had to share that.
Oh,
Big
that's
Mama.
Oh man, I'm over here. Go ahead, you guys. Sorry.
Oh, that's too much. Oh,
That's so funny.
Wow. I hope she
Well,
found
I
Big
can,
Mama.
She has no service, but she can
I
call
can
you.
Big Mama
actually,
found Sage.
I can share a phone time anomaly with you while we're on the subject.
Yes.
And Sham is actually part of it, and she's here, so that makes it even cooler. So a few nights ago, she and I were on the phone, and we were on the phone. I don't know. We got on the phone probably like 10:30, and we were on the phone forever. And I had to get up. I had to get up at 5 a.m. the next morning because I was going to this really important thing. And I kept telling her, like, I gotta go. And finally, at like 1:30, I'm like, Sham, I have got to go. I got to go to bed. I have to get up at 5 a.m. And she was like, okay, I'm going to let you go. And so I hung up with her, and I texted my husband a text that I had been meaning to send right when she called me. And he, at the time, when he got the text, was like, oh no, I really, really hope that there was like a glitch in the matrix. And this was how he said it, a glitch in the matrix that delayed this text message, and that she's not just sending this right now because if she's not already in bed, that's going to be a really bad thing because she's supposed to get up really early tomorrow morning to go with me to this really important thing. So, I went to bed, got up, was really tired for the really important thing. And I don't even know how it came up the next day that...
No, you guys are making fun of me because you're like, oh, you kept her up like late, or like I think it was
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, I
It was
said
like,
you kept me on the phone till 1:30
Yeah.
in the morning, and you were like, it was not that late. It was not that late. And you pulled up your phone,
And I showed
and
screenshots.
that it said
10:30.
10:30. And I was like, no way. And so I looked at my phone, and sure enough, it said 10:30. And I was like, oh my God, what just happened to my world? Okay, wait a second. And so
And
I
Johnny
like
came in,
screamed-
and
right.
husband came in and said,
Yeah.
"Hey."
Everybody knows husband's name. It's okay.
Okay.
Johnny
All
came
right.
in.
Johnny came in
Yeah.
and was like,
We
"I'll
screamed
show
for
you."
Johnny to come in because we're like, show us yours, because I sent him that text that showed it was 1:30, and he had the whole like, oh my gosh, it's 1:30. And he pulled up his phone and opened it up, and sure enough, it said 10:30.
Yeah.
And so
It was super weird.
it was, yeah, because all of us, and it was 1:30 in the morning. I mean,
Yeah.
it
Yeah. It was like
absolutely
1:36, I think,
because
whenever we got
we
off the
couldn't have
phone.
even gotten on the phone that early because we had a show that night, and our show didn't even, I mean, we don't even get off our post-show chat until like 10:30. So for us to finish an hours long phone call at 10:30 wouldn't have even been possible anyway. But yeah.
And I wasn't even able to be available at 10:30. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah,
Oh, weird.
that's right. Yeah, that's
Like,
right.
I am
So
not
Right.
available
whose
at that
phone
time.
did it show up on that you sent it at 10:30?
All of ours.
All of
Even though
ours.
we
It's
know,
changed all of our phones.
yeah.
That's
Changed
weird.
all of
I,
ours.
I don't know if it happens like to you guys in the States, but I had phone calls that would come up, like I have with my box with the cable company I have, shows the phone number come up on the TV. And I've, over the past probably couple years, I had my own phone number call myself.
Oh,
I'd
weird.
Well,
and
that
I'd
was yeah,
Yes.
that's
answer it, and I'd be like,
yeah.
you
Remember,
know,
Yeah.
Brian?
Yeah. What happened?
Remember that?
Go ahead. You can say it,
That's what
Teresa.
happened to me a couple months ago. I was sitting here and my phone was ringing, and I was on like I am with you now. My own phone was calling me, but I rejected myself.
Oh,
oh,
Wow.
that's
Reject.
when that happens.
I did not want to.
That's
I said, nope, I'm rejecting you.
But what if it was yourself trying to tell you about your future, like your winning lottery numbers?
no, oh, Brian, I tried to answer and say, hello, who's there? But nobody was talking on the other end.
I rejected her. Said,
yeah,
no
that's
way. I'm
another
not
one.
news.
One of our friends had that happen.
So,
Yeah.
No way.
It
Not
was
a friend of a friend.
Convention.
Yeah, it was a Facebook friend of one of the gathering show members. Her husband's phone was turned off and charging in the kitchen, and he was in the bedroom.
Trying to sleep, pretty
Yeah,
much.
he was like on his oxygen machine because he was having trouble breathing, and so he was in there trying to sleep. And her phone started ringing in the kitchen, and so she went in there to answer it, and the phone call was from her husband, whose phone was 2 feet away and off,
Weird.
and his phone was off, and so when she looked at his phone, when she turned it on and she looked to see if it had made any calls, it showed that he had made the call to her at that exact time, even though the phone was off and
right next to her.
And right
Yeah.
next to her, and there's no way that it was impossible that the call could have even been made. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that happened just a couple days
scary.
ago. That was sent to us by one of our friends.
I'm kind of worried about the fact that we lost 3 hours.
Yeah, that was
3 full hours of
yeah.
We were there.
Weird.
And then everything else shows that it's 3 hours prior. You know, like that's crazy.
I know.
Yeah,
so
like with
strange.
our,
I've never heard of that happening.
Weird. Yeah, that was a weird one. That was a weird one.
Oh, Guy
excuse
Fox,
me.
a friend of mine, just had a phone experience like that today.
Can I say something? Because there's somebody in the chat that okay, there's a guy D to the V in the chat, and this is what we did one time. This is when he was very new to the Mandela Effect, and this was in actually one of Terrence's chat rooms. And so what we did was him and I and 2 other people went into Twitch, and we were just like not telling people what Mandela Effect was. We were just asking them questions. So I mentioned it because he's in the chat and he can verify this, what happened. So we went in and we asked people, you know, what's that famous line from Star Wars? You know, the whole Luke, I am your father thing. And the guy said, Luke, I am your father. And we said, no, it's not even, it doesn't even say that. Right. But we're not telling them the whole deal. And the guy goes, yeah, I will show you. And he shows us this video, this short clip saying, no, I am your father. But that guy was still hearing Luke, I am your father, even though it was saying no.
What?
That's interesting.
Yep.
Oh, that's so weird.
Isn't that creepy?
So did he not, was there just mass confusion? Was he just like, are you guys not hearing this?
It was like, it was hilarious.
That's when he only tries to connect with you and not the group.
Tell Guy, check your email. I sent it to you through your email. Okay.
Some people still seeing it
I
or hearing it.
I just sent it. I just sent it.
Oh, I guess I can.
That's crazy, Marlena.
I know, right? It's like, and we did it a few times. We didn't just do it once. We did it a few times, and people were still. I mean, Luke, I am your father. They were still hearing Luke.
Oh, he says he loved that experiment.
I did. I know it was fun. Yeah.
Well, Marlena, I like your that's where it was that one that got me onto the Mandela Effect because I'm a big Star Wars guy, and Interview with a Vampire got me too. But I like how I was watching some of your videos and you made the crawl thing about the Mandela Effect. It was pretty funny. But like you're saying about, like, I mean, there is residue with even James Earl Jones saying that he read it. Like, he read it from the script that it was Luke, I'm your father. So, I mean, we're not crazy, obviously.
Right. That's right. I mean, look at all these shows. Like, I did a couple really short videos on just, you know, these, like Sheldon saying, Luke, I am your father, thinking he sounds like James Earl Jones. And then there's the other guy, too, on that American Housewife. You know, her husband says the same thing. You know, he's like, I'm not going to say right away, Luke, I am your father. You know, there's all these shows that say what we remember, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, is Guy on? Did he?
Hi, Guy.
Yeah, I'm on.
What's up,
Hi, Guy.
Hi, Guy.
Hey.
Glad you found your way here.
I think so, yeah.
We're really glad to have you on here, brother. Good to have you.
You're not getting any feedback from me, are you? Because I've never done this through my laptop before. I've always done this on the phone.
Fine.
No,
Oh, no,
you sound awesome. Guy, tell us about that phone call that you were talking about.
Okay, let me find the email that he sent to me, and I'll just read it to you. Okay, here it is.
I think he pronounced his last name.
Flax.
Yeah. Just Fox. It's not supposed to be anything weird.
Of course.
Okay. So this is what my buddy said. He said, I just witnessed something that I hadn't experienced yet. it shouldn't surprise me after everything else that's happened, but I can't stop thinking about it. I had one of those safe light guys come to my house and fix a crack in the windshield of my car. I hope y'all aren't getting feedback. I'm getting feedback.
Are you?
No.
No, I don't hear anything. No.
Okay. So anyway, he said he went out to meet the guy when he got there, and they talked a while. He said he would call me when everything was done. And I went back in my house. I watched him work on it from the balcony for 15 minutes. I saw him pull out his cell phone at his van and talk to someone briefly. He put his phone in the van and continued working on my windshield. I could tell he was about finished, and I was waiting for him to pick up his phone and give me a call. As I was watching him put his tools away, I got a phone call. I answered it while I was still watching him, and it was him. He said he was about done, and I could come take a look at it. Brother, that was some freaky sort of thing to watch happen.
Oh my gosh!
So,
What?
yeah.
Oh, that's insane.
So when you said this on the phone, I thought, well, that just sounds like my friend who just told me about this today.
That's totally insane. Time isn't syncing up.
No, I seriously think that there's a hiccup in time where I know myself. There's one time I knocked over one of my uncle's glass, and while saying "oops," it was like time freezed, and I grabbed the glass in midair, and I probably could. I'm not ambidextrous. I mean, I can't. I'm not the Flash from Justice League or anything, but I mean, I could clearly see the glass, and I picked it out and I put it back on the table while I was saying I'm sorry. So it's like even back then, that was when I was like 10 years old.
Whoa.
And I mean, now that I'm aware of stuff that's going on now, I mean, it kind of makes sense of like all these hiccups that are going on with time. Like you shouldn't be able to do that, really.
Right.
We've experienced that too, and another guy in our chat also experienced where he'll look at the time, it's like say 11 o'clock, and then he'll go do a bunch of stuff and then come back and it's still 11 o'clock. I mean, you know, or waking up.
Whoa.
This happened to me a few times where I'd go to sleep and know what time it was when I went to sleep. Then I wake up and then it'd still be that time. Like that,
crazy.
You know? Yeah.
The guy
like
who woke... Go ahead.
Drove to New York, that the time change with that was really ridiculous. You know, it's a 12-hour drive for me. Only took me 8 hours. And I even asked the people at the toll, did things change? And she's like, no, because I thought, well, maybe there's new roads or something. And she's like, no, I've worked here. She worked there for like 15 years, and she still, you know, it never moved.
That's
so things
insane.
So
I've heard other people say that too.
Either it's a time thing, or things are getting smaller.
We lost Digital Scribe. I haven't talked to him in forever.
Literally changing.
Oh yeah.
Geography is
my province now, and I know that Seeker can attest to this. Our province is now tilted. Like it used to be straight. Now it's tilted like towards the left.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It is.
What's up, Tom?
Hey, doing good.
Hi, Tom.
Hey.
Hello, Tom.
Yeah, I'm
haven't
doing
talked
good.
to you in forever.
It's Corey.
Forever.
Hey, Corey. I know it's been a long time, you know.
Yep.
Tom, have you had any weird phone calls? We're talking about phone anomalies.
I'm sorry. What makes?
Have you had any women's bizarre magazines sent to your residence?
No, not at all.
Just Brian.
We're talking about weird phone calls and time anomalies too. Have you had any of those lately?
Well, you know, lately I've been getting a whole lot of solicitation on my phone, which I never used to get. You know, it's
weird.
more of annoyance. But no, I actually I've just been seeing some synchronicities, you know, and they've been getting a little more commonplace. And, you know, I think as we become more and more aware of the changes, our senses are more heightened to see that. You know, when I took dream interpretation class, it's like, you know, when you realize something, all of a sudden you're more aware of seeing it. It's not so much like it's hidden.
Yeah.
Oh, the time clock. I mean, well, it's been said a million times, but 11:11, 3:33, like it's retarded.
Yeah, it's like those kind of things. I mean, I firmly believe that this whole reality is based totally on information. I mean, I was thinking about you know what we define as real and what's not real. Generally, in our mind, we think what's real is what's solid or immovable or unchangeable, and things we think are fake are things that are obviously changeable. You know, like a fake photo or something like that. But it's all breaks it down to information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And
it shows us also that reality is very malleable. You know, you could change anything in your life just by thinking about it and putting your energy into it.
Well, you know, I was studying, you know, getting back, and I've been on this for a while, but you know how Moses threw down his rod, it became a snake? And then the magicians, who are godless, they threw down their rods and became snakes as well. But the thing is, what God showed in that passage is Moses' rod, or snake, swallowed up the other two, showing that God has final authority in all matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now it was Aaron's rod.
Well,
oh, really?
Aaron's
That
rod,
changed?
It's Aaron's.
Oh my gosh.
no, Aaron's rod was the one that budded. You know, that's what the script.
No, I check it. It should be Aaron now. It's Aaron's rod now.
What?
Yeah,
I'm gonna check that.
It was Moses, but
yeah,
it changed to Aaron.
Yeah,
No
I mean, you
way.
check it. But so you know, a lot of people have said it's like a dream, and that's the way dreams are too. You know, dreams time doesn't seem to follow the same. You know, you'll be asleep for 5 minutes and feel like you've been dreaming this long period of time, stuff like that. But
oh my gosh, you're right. Exodus 7:8-13. Aaron's staff becomes a snake.
right.
What?
So somebody asked what my flip flop was today, and I wanted to throw this out there. I wanted to see if anybody else is seeing this because some of this stuff might be.
I know my flip flops.
When I see stuff like this, I wonder about the infinite realities because I just don't know. Because sometimes I experience something that other people were experiencing, and then it changes, and nobody's with me on it. Like I just left. So this one has to do. I was talking to my daughter earlier this evening. My son and my daughter. She was on speakerphone. She's a big Harry Potter geek, right? And my kids just got done like picking on me for talking about Mandela Effect too much and being crazy and shut me down. Anyway, my daughter was saying something about some study showed that people that really are into Harry Potter are really good people or something like that. And she's a real Harry Potter nut. And I said, well, that brings up a good point. There hasn't been a whole, for all the things that I've seen change around me, there hasn't been really much about Harry Potter. But I know that there was one. And there was that one Harry Potter that was, there was only one that I could think of that was a Harry Potter Mandela. And it was when Hagrid first met Harry, and he said, "You're a wizard, Harry," except the Mandela effect was that the Harry was gone, and all he was saying was, "You're a wizard." He didn't say, "You're a wizard, Harry." Does anybody remember that?
No!
Do you remember that? Because that's no longer it's no longer a thing. My son in 2 seconds showed me. No, he says to you, "You're a wizard, Harry." And I was like, wait a minute, that had changed. I remember very clearly that was like the only Mandela effect I identified with Harry Potter. But so here's it gets confusing to even retell this, but I was in a reality where he only said, "You're a wizard," and everybody was saying this is not supposed to be that way. He's supposed to say, "You're a wizard, Harry." But as of today, he says, "You're a wizard, Harry." So that was the flip-flop for me.
Oh,
But I have a
weird.
question.
That happened to you with Hillary Clinton too, right?
Yes, very much so.
I have a question with the, like, maybe it's the sorcerer in the stone, and then the the
No, wait, it's a
philosopher's
British.
stone.
No,
The
it's
philosopher.
it's a British thing though.
Oh.
Yeah, so it changes
the
with
British,
the different versions.
it wasn't like a Mandela effect. It was because the British had it philosopher.
Yeah. Well,
and
yeah. Well, no, I just mean
the Americans
maybe
had
that's
it
why.
sorcerer.
I know, because
Yeah.
like there's different things that are said in different movies.
Yeah.
Because I've watched both. So maybe it was the different movies, you know,
Well-
like one said, like the philosopher.
Philosopher.
I was trying, guys.
Philosophers.
The philosophers. I'm trying.
Hey.
Brian, off just to put up about Moses, if you can check up the movie, the Ten Commandments, just to see if Moses does still use his staff.
That would have changed.
Well, you know what?
No,
I find weird too.
I'm just wondering if it changed or not.
Yeah,
when you're
that's an
saying stuff
interesting point.
appearing in shows is Star Trek: The New Generation with that crystal showing up.
Yeah,
I've
yeah, with
never
that
seen
crystal. Oh, me neither, man. I was like kind of floored when Picard kept having that crystal all over the place. Let me ask somebody. Let me ask you guys a question. Have you experienced something where you've always remembered something one way, and then everybody else says, "Oh no, that was a Mandela change," but for you it never changed?
That's
You know
a
what I'm
good
talking about?
question.
Yeah, there was, because we were just talking about that with McDonald's. For me, it was MAC, and then Seeker was saying it was always MC for him. So he's always remembered to be an MC, and most of the people did. But it was clearly MAC for me.
Yeah, see,
Well, the MAC,
the
the
point
MAC is back.
Oh,
the point.
I think we
Beautiful Awakenings is saying that it was MAC.
I don't think any of us are wrong. I think we're both
No.
like we're all
No,
seeing
this
it in
is
a different way.
well, this
No,
is
exactly.
the way.
I never tell anybody they're wrong either, because they're not. We can't tell each other how to experience something, you know.
This is why it's not on the 6 o'clock news, because thing is, like me and Brian, we remember that song "Stairway to Heaven." I always remember it as buying a stairway, but Brian always remembers building. He remembers it. What floors me about it is I remember ever since I was a teenager, but then when he shows me residual building, I said, you know, that's where you get those dual realities, and I believe we are on the same planet or plane, but it's like everybody's playing their own video game as far as consciousness, and sometimes we have a different thing. That's the reason why there's so much. Some people are like dead set, say, "Oh, it's never changed," you know, and they are right, because I guess when the changes happen, sometimes they got simulated along with their memory with the change. So that's the reason why it's so elusive.
That's right, and it's wonderful. I think it's fantastic what's going on, and you know the whole in Mamas and the Papas when they said I began to pray. I mean, I'm a musician, you know. I remember the songs, and I sang, and we began to pray, and now it says pretend, and that really gets my goat.
Oh, what really got my sheepskin was that song with Kansas, you know, "Dust in the Wind." And when I heard the first lyric, I mean the first chorus said, "All they are is dust in the wind," I said, "What?" And I love that song. Yeah, Kansas, "Dust in the Wind."
Yeah,
the first chorus goes all. Yeah, well, if you listen to it, the first chorus only says, "All they are is dust in the wind," instead, "All we are is dust in the wind."
It's all we are, man. I sing that a million times.
But listen to it again. Just pull it up on YouTube, and the first chorus will say, "All they are." It'll shake you up, because, like I said,
you know what's funny is I thought I heard them all.
See, we're looking at the tip of the iceberg. We're only aware of what we know, but you know, there's things we've never experienced, and that's where we don't know about it.
When we get to the personal
like
stuff,
I said, it's the greatest show. The Mandela Effect is the greatest show on the earth by hands down.
I agree.
It really is.
No,
God,
I don't know if Spiral of Truth is still in the chat, but he was on the phone with me. We were talking when one of my girlfriends came here, and I kept seeing her driving back and forth, and I even said it to him. I'm like, Jesus, my friend, I never seen her in like about maybe 10 years, right? And I kept seeing her drive by, and then she pulled in, and then her face turned white, and she was like, oh my God, it's true. You are around, right? She was one of the people that heard I died.
Those are the priceless moments. You see their face change like that. It's priceless.
And he heard her. Yep, he heard her. She was crying. She's like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I can't wait to go home and tell my boyfriend, you are here. And she stayed here for a good hour. And I stayed on the phone with him so we can hear the whole conversation because it was so, because I just went through, going out to dinner with my friends and them telling me about my funeral.
Oh my gosh.
I had to get my death certificate. Then they had to destroy it. So of course, I made a copy. Because this is the stuff I had to present to all these places to prove that I was alive.
Get out!
No way!
So freaking cool.
And this was the reason why I changed my name to the Marlena Effect, because I'm having that same thing happen. So, I have also ran into people that I know passed away. Like my best friend, her brother. I remember him killing himself, but he didn't here. But he did. I remember it being so sad. I remember I was living in the States when it happened, and I couldn't make it up here. And then I seen him at the pharmacy, and I was like, hey, that was pretty, weird to see him. But when my friends see, this is what I tell you guys the story real quick. What happened?
Yeah.
Is for me, is when I came home from Haiti, I was really upset with my girlfriends for not meeting me at the airport. And not feeling worried because I was stuck there. We were trapped under a building for a week. And so I was in Haiti and I helped out for 3 months after that. So when I came home, I thought they were going to make a big deal out of it, because I was on the news and all this crap. And these were my girls, like 7 of my girlfriends. So one of our friends had died. And so I went to her funeral and I was doing her eulogy. And I see my girlfriend sitting in one of the pews and they're all like talking to each other. And it was kind of irritating, but when we left, we went out to dinner and they were like, they couldn't wait to tell me. They're like, we went to your funeral. They told me the whole thing. They told me how I died in a car accident.
Wow.
And then, but my friend Lynn that had came over here told me that she thought I died when I was in Haiti. Like that was what she thought. You know what I mean? So, it was really, I cried. I mean, even right now, I'm okay now, but the last time I told the story, I just started crying because, my poor friends had to go through this shit. So we went to the place where they brought my ashes, where my mother was, her ashes were.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was a pretty big deal. So when it gets personal like that to you, it's a whole new ballgame. I can't blame it on digital media. I can't blame it on all that stuff. I just can't.
No, man.
Whoa,
it's just the way reality is,
insane.
Yep. And this is the reason why my name keeps getting messed up in the system. I mean, Jesus, this is like more than how many times Lala had to change my name? Like 15 times?
You hear of identity theft, but this has gone to the nth degree on that one,
well,
man.
You know what? This is how it happened. When I was changing my name that day at Motor Vehicle, back when that woman joked around saying, Jesus, like you're dead. And me and my daughter just looked at each other because it was like, we knew what was going on. On that Monday, my cousin came over and he said, oh, we had to see what's going on because someone might be trying to steal your identity. So then that made more sense to me, right? And then I said, oh, so where were they trying to use it? And he said, oh, motor vehicle in the bank. And I said, oh, that was me. It wasn't somebody else. Yeah. So I have like that kind of shit that went on. But I'm still having problems with my name.
Wow, that's something. So you really experienced it and know that you experienced it, that you were dead and now you're alive. And you have no absolute record, whatever, to being anywhere other than what you'd normally kick it around from day to day since you were born.
That's right. The only difference is the friends. And I was thinking, well, maybe because, we all moved away from each other, maybe that's why they didn't get a hold of me. But I have a screenshot of me holding my my bank card with my name that's supposed to be on there. And then you see the screen behind it of my bank account having my maiden name in there. I mean, my married name in there. Like two opposites.
Whoa.
Card wasn't working. And it was a big deal. I'm still dealing with this crap because it happens all the time still. It won't stay. Yeah. It won't stay still for me.
Well, one optimistic thing I could say about all this is, if you have somebody who died that you know is dead, you never know. They could be alive the next day, and nothing ever happened. I mean, we pray about raising the dead and healing the sick, but I mean, sometimes this happens automatically. And there was a TV show a couple years ago called The Returned.
Right.
Where all of a sudden these people were dead, and all of a sudden they're walking around being alive. And this was a couple of years ago. It was on Sunday night. And it's like, how prophetic is that? Because that's exactly
because
what's
it was actually 5 years ago when a guy friend of mine that I hung out in high school came up to me at the gas station 5 years ago, where he said it to me. He goes, "Holy shit! I thought you were dead. I heard it was a rumor you were dead," and then we laughed about it.
Oh
and
my
then, God! Because he wasn't at my funeral, nothing, so he had no proof. It was more like he heard I was dead. So, to me in March.
So
it's like, oh, this makes sense then.
So stepping back, when you look at it, you're like, to you, you're always alive, so you were never dead. So, but the Mandela effect is you were dead, and then now you're alive. That's a Mandela effect for everybody else except for you. That's how that
But I
rolls.
see physical changes. Like, I see physical changes. Like, my living room, I was telling this to Brian earlier, my living room had a flower print on it.
Right.
And now the wall is beige. I've never painted this house. I asked my daughter, she painted it. And I do have a residual of, I took a video of one of her daughters were playing on the couch, and she's singing, and you can see the flower pattern behind her.
Wow, that's different.
Yeah.
You actually have like a video footage of a residual?
Yep. And we have the residual of OxyClean too, because my daughter was holding the OxyClean bottle in a pitcher.
Oh, you
holding
have that original with the Y?
Yep. She's holding it. Oh my God. She's holding it in a freaking picture. I was
can you like take a picture of that picture and put it up there? I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be killer.
I have to find it, but I will. I'm putting together a video anyway on it. But I do. I have it. It's on my other computer, but I do have it.
Oh, you got to do it, because that'll be like that'll go
Lala.
viral.
Lala.
That's
sorry, I don't mean to be yelling.
amazing.
Did I get her over here? Maybe
Isn't
she
that
has it on
pretty
her
cool,
right now. I
Mix?
can just take a picture of it.
Isn't that awesome?
But yeah, it's really cool.
Marlena, forgive
I love
me,
it.
but do you have a channel? Do you have a channel?
Yeah, but you know what happened, Meeks? You and I used to talk a long time ago.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I was.
Oh my! But I thought you died.
I was talking to you through. I know, right? I was talking to you through Taryn.
Oh, okay.
Like when we were. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, and back then it was. Yeah, it was a long time ago. My name was under Amazing Whisper back then.
Okay.
Well,
and they closed my channel.
Oh,
YouTube closed my channel.
Definitely, I've got to check it out.
So this is my third channel, you guys.
I mean, I can
this is my third channel.
Imagine.
And if you look at one of my playlists, right, Migs, they deleted 52 of my videos.
No, they didn't.
Well, they figured you died.
Insane.
Oh, we joke about this crap all the time because, even with my guitar name changing, I had a Yamaha. My mother, she was raising 6 of us, and she couldn't afford a really, really good guitar. I mean, this guitar was still good. So she got me Yamaha, and she felt bad about it, but I was okay with it, So she got me a pickguard made, on there. And then just this year, it changed to a Kent.
Wow.
So how many
when it happened,
of the affected, how many are musicians like yourself? I've noticed there's a lot of musicians.
God.
Yeah, I play
so
the guitar and keyboards.
Yeah, the majority of them are musicians and artists.
Megs, what about you? Are you a musician?
Oh, heck no, I
wish.
I have much respect for musicians. I did go to art school, though. Close enough.
I think.
Yeah.
Well, what I like with I don't know if Brian put that poll out there, but somebody did. The empathetic is very in tune with the Mandela effect that I've seen. Like if you're very empathetic. I do sing. I used to sing in a band and stuff, but I don't think music's got too much to do with it. I think it's got to do with your soul and your empathy towards life. I think that's the main thing.
You got to remember, that we have to be kind to each other. And I find the more people are starting to love each other more, the more this is happening. You know, it's a big deal for us here. Yeah, and we do ceremonies all the time here because, you know, we do follow our traditions and our culture. And it's so important for people to remember to be kind to each other because you don't know if you're the first person that's kind to them that day. And something happens, you know, something happens inside these people when you're the one that's kind to them.
Today was an interesting day for kindness. I don't know if anybody else has had a particularly kind moment today, but here in Texas, we had high winds, and I was leaving Home Depot, and I had like 300.
The Home Depot?
Yeah, the Home Depot I was leaving, and I had 300 of those foam things. You know those foam things you put on the faucets on the outside of your house for winter?
Yes.
I had 300 of those, and I was pushing them, and this gust of wind came along, and it just sent everything. It was just all over the parking lot. So I was like Rocky chasing a chicken, you know. And I'd like to say that, you know, I was just all spiritual. I didn't let off any swear words, but I did. I let out loud. I was pissed. And all this stuff's blown all over the parking lot. And out of nowhere, 5 or 6 people just jumped in to help me and just started picking up this stuff with me. I thought that's really nice. I was ashamed that I kind of got so pissed, but just shocked at all these people that were helping me. I mean, you know, it's not like I look like Rachel, you know, Rienstra and a bunch of guys would jump in to help if something like that happened to her. But to me, I'm not used to people just jumping in to help me. So it was kind of cool to see all these people, and I was thanking them and everything. I just thought it was a nice act of kindness because sometimes the world seems very opposite from that. Sometimes the world seems very selfish.
Yeah, well, open the door for an old lady or something. Like, you don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
People pushing each other out of the way.
The door for anyone.
Well, you know, there's
giving
that
up
episode
their seat on public transit. That doesn't happen anymore.
You know that episode on Star Trek? I'm talking about the first one. It's called Mirror Mirror, just like Mirror Mirror on the Wall. And in Mirror Mirror, they like have a transporter issue, and they get beamed into an alternate reality, which is a darker version of their reality. So everybody's
you're talking about Captain Kirk one, right?
Yeah.
With Spock with the beard.
Yeah, so they go into this mirror. It's a mirror image of their reality, but it's kind of an evil reality, and everybody just is evil. And I've kind of felt that way about, like, I think we're constantly shifting into little versions of reality, and sometimes you can shift into, you know, some versions that are a little darker than others. It just feels that way. I can't say for sure, but
well, you know, when I was studying quantum physics or quantum mechanics, the way I see it is, you know, the famous double slit experiment. When you're not observing it, it's a wave of probability. Like anything can happen. Like you could be alive or dead at the same time, like Schrodinger's cat. So people notice you were dead, but yet you're alive. That's sort of like you're alive and dead at the same time, which is the quantum mechanics. But along with that, there's infinite amount of possibilities. When we're shifting, we got to remember we're like spiritual being trapped in a 3-dimensional space-time body. Okay, that's what we're trapped in or hooked up. But all that is information around us, so that could be changed a little bit of a drop of a hat. And also, time, in a sense, is almost like a spatial dimension. The way I say that, because when you look at the past, you see something change, like Grandma 400-year-old King James Bible, which does an awesome job of reporting that. Well, you know, you think, oh, that's 400 years old and that's retroactive change. But you got to remember, we're looking always in the past through the present. So when the present information changes, it may look like it's a retroactive past, but it's actually happening now. Okay, so time in itself is, the past doesn't exist in that sense. We only see the past through the present. So again, that's another part of the quantum change. And that one video of the nature of reality, when they talk about the quantum gravity research, awesome video because it enlightened a lot of things. And the reason why I say that is because consciousness affects reality. That's the reason why Jesus says your faith will move mountains and everything. It's a faith-based reality. That's one. And then there's another one that talks about non-determinism. That's free will, which, you know, that's in the Bible. And then you got the golden ratio, which is in every aspect of creation. I mean, everything has got that pattern in it. So they come up with all these patterns that are in it, and plus with Planck's slang, it's a pixelated universe. When you divide your smallest, when you divide something down, keep dividing down, you'll hit a point where you hit a certain limit where you cannot divide it anymore because it's impossible. It shifts from Planck's length to Planck's length. That's the smallest division of the universe. So in a sense, that's pixelated like a digital reality. Also, you notice how we came up with computers. We figure, oh, we just invented it, but we're actually imitating the way reality works. And that's the reason why we break everything down to a 1 and a 0, which is that's why I like being a digital scribe, because all information is basically down to either there or not there. You know.
Okay,
So,
well, Tom, like just to put what you said, like I mean, it was good points, but I went to college and I learned about Schrodinger's box, and my only answer to that, if it's going to be the fate of humanity, is it's not whether the cat is alive or dead in the box. The whole point of it to me is you don't put the cat in the box.
well, yeah, man, and you don't put the poison in there.
You don't do it.
But the thing is,
mean, if you're a good person, you're not going to put the cat in the box.
The Bible says nobody's good, only God is good. I mean, the only reason why we're righteous is through what Christ died for us. That's the only definition of being good or whatever. But God's the ultimate authority. You know, his plans will always prevail no matter what happens. I mean, he allows the enemy to do whatever he wants, whether it's CERN or.
I'm just saying in the science.
Yeah.
Part of it, that why would you put a cat in a box? And
well, he was using it as an analogy.
No, I know
saying that if you don't observe it, the possibility could be either way. It could be alive and dead at the same time.
Yes,
you know?
but
what's mind blowing is this is how the universe or reality actually works. I mean, and eventually, when you get down to when scientists finally find out the truth, they already know that this whole universe has been created by some
don't know how the universe
type of
reality
intelligence.
works.
No, I'm just
They're coming close to it.
They're
coming out with. We know more now today than we did 100 or 200 years ago.
I'm just saying.
Just because we know more doesn't mean that we know. I mean,
no, we don't know the total truth. We're getting more enlightened to the truth. We're not there yet, obviously.
I'm just saying, don't put the cat in the box to begin with.
Oh, I'll never put my cat in the box.
No, who cares if it's alive
I
or
let
dead?
him go outside, you know? Let him enjoy the air, you know?
No, I'm not saying
I swing it around by the tail.
oh my God, who cares? Like,
right on, Corey. I don't believe in animal cruelty either. I think that was a cruel experiment that Schrodinger did.
Yeah.
No, they all did it back then, and I've read all about it. It's like Pavlov's dog, like ring the bell, and you know.
Well, I didn't like Mr. Edison when he electrocuted the elephant to show Nikola Tesla that his alternating current was like deadly. You know, that was wrong.
Oh, I hadn't heard about that one.
Oh yeah,
Nikolai. An elephant?
Yeah. He took either a dog or an elephant. I think it was a dog or an elephant. I can't remember. But Edison literally electrocuted one of these animals to prove how hazardous alternating current was. You know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
You ought to watch that clip. You know.
So talking about Edison, did he really get electricity going?
Well, he discovered direct current.
This is a change. Now that
Nikola
he didn't
Tesla,
do it.
Tesla discovered alternating current. He says that's the way nature works, you know, which makes sense because everything's constantly in motion. You know, whether your blood's flowing in your body, as long as you have motion, you have life. If your blood's moving in your body, you're alive. But once it stops moving, you're dead. Same with electricity. As long as electrons are moving, you have power. But if they don't move, it's dead. And, if the water's not flowing, then the pond becomes stagnant and it's dead.
No, but that's the other belief, though. Are we blood or are we electricity?
No, we're blood, but we have electrons in it. But the thing is, what I was trying to say, so I call it a law of motion. Even cash flow. If your money stopped moving,
We're
the
frequency.
economy
Even
dies if
Tesla
it's
said
not moving.
that. I mean,
What's
even
that?
Tesla, we're frequency. Even Tesla said that. Once you figure out frequency, you'll figure out everything and
Yeah, if you
everyone.
know vibration, energy, and
We are
frequency.
frequency.
We are
We're
frequency. You know, if you guys look at the Schumann resonance with you know, Mother Earth, how she's vibrating at a higher frequency now, she's pushing us also along to do the same thing. And this is why we're all waking up in the ways we're waking up, is because, you know, certain things that we couldn't see before we were able to see. You know, you think of our bodies being a vibrational
Have you heard of miracle
also.
frequency? The 528 hertz. Have you heard about that?
Oh yeah, that's legit.
I'm telling you, there's an honest truth to it, because I
There
have a
is.
keyboard, and when I tune it from
we tuned ours to 430.
Yeah,
to
I tune mine to like 444A. That's 1600s. I mean 16, hundredths of a note. But what happens is you're tuning that C from a 262 hertz. I mean a 523 hertz to a 528. And when you start playing that and just singing Yahweh, my friend, he's got perfect pitch hearing. When he played my keyboard, I leave him tuned up like that. He goes, "Oh, this thing sounds great." I say, you're kidding. And then when I tuned it back down, he goes, "Oh, I don't like that. Tune it back the way it was." But yeah, because that's the way what you were saying with the frequency. When you're in tune resonance with reality or frequency, you get that peace. You get more liberating, sound, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
you're in harmony with
I
it.
think everybody is at a different frequency, though.
Yeah, I think it's your awareness too, and your awakening where you are with your ascension, because we all are going through a physical ascension, and there are a lot of ways that you can tell. I mean, some people will have, you go through this time where your body's changing so rapidly that you start getting heart palpitations. You start feeling like you're having anxiety attacks and panic attacks, when really that's not what's going on. It's just your body's way of trying to catch up to the certain vibration that's going on right now.
Hey, let me ask you a question with that, because sometimes I feel like I'm going, like my heart's going to stop or have a heart attack. I'm not having anxiety, but it's really weird, Is that what you're talking
it's
about?
part of the ascension. Yep, it's part of that physical ascension that's going on. Our bodies are changing really fast. I mean, overnight even sometimes. You could tell by the Mandela stuff that people talk about with your skull and all the stuff in your bones changing. Well, they really are, and then you're going to have these feelings because your body is physically changing, and it's for specific reasons, the bone behind your eyes, you know why that happened? It happened because our pineal glands are starting to, like a lot of people that theirs weren't decalcified, are starting to decalcify. And so your pineal glands are actually growing. And I know this for sure. And I know it, and I'll tell you why in a second, but our bones were placed there so our eyes don't pop out of our skull. Our pineal glands is the beacon for your lucid dreaming, for your astral projection, if you can do it, lucid dream is a big deal. A lot of stuff you do in your, people that never done it before are just starting to do it now. And how we found this out is my daughter is in her second year of medical school, and she brought this up to her teacher, to her professor, about the skull change, and he said, no, it doesn't. There's a hole there. So they did a dissertation, and they're putting a paper. They're writing a paper for the medical journal about this. And what they discovered it is because the pineal gland grew bigger. So this is why the bone is set there now.
I personally put it to my doctor, and he told me he can't say nothing. But I mean, like you said about the skull changing,
Yes,
we don't have the tail on the back anymore. Our ribs changed. The heart is not in the same spot. Our kidneys are not.
Our liver. Yeah.
Yeah.
Liver's
in the liver
bigger.
The tailbone is gone.
Like
it flattened out, kind of.
Yeah, the tailbone's gone too. Yeah.
But he was. But anyway, they made this a big discussion in their class, and so they are doing a paper on it, so people know that this really did change. Like, it wasn't something, but it was my daughter that brought it to his attention, because she's very, very awake.
That's good.
I have.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How old is your daughter?
She's 19.
Oh,
You know, and I brought a. I took forensic anthropology back when I was in university, and I found my book, and it's all, you know, bones. It's, you know, just what the whole thing is we were doing, if somebody dies, you know, if you find their bone, you know, what they die of, how old they died, da da da. But in my book, it still has the way we remember. It still has the whole, you know,
Wow.
it still has no. The whole thing is just like all we remember.
I gotta say that, like, with the anatomy changes, like, just the way they've manifested. For example, the fact that we now have like little mounds on our foreheads, like, that look like horns. I don't know exactly what the anatomy is called. And then we have a hyoid bone with greater horns and lesser horns on it in our necks that detach, aren't attached to any other bone. And it's just the holes in the skull, and just the utterly evil way.
Oh, the holes! I need that, like a hole in the head.
I just.
Did you guys know that now some of your ribs can grow back now? Did you know that?
What, if you take them out, they'll grow back?
The ribs? Yeah, they can regenerate.
Yeah,
now.
they can regenerate. And also our lungs produce blood now.
Yeah.
I always remember that as being the bone marrow's kicking out the blood cells. What, now the lungs do it?
Yep.
Wow, man.
And I remember my sternum. I remember it being very soft, and that's where we used to press, like, for first aid to wake somebody up. Yep. You would take your knuckles and press there. Well, now that's a solid bone. Because it has to protect the heart. Yeah, it has to protect our heart, where our heart moved to the middle. Well, it's sort of to the middle, kind of to the middle. Not where it used to be.
My sternum cracks now when I stretch. It never used to.
Isn't that weird?
Before.
Also, your thumbs are lower down now. Like, if you put your hand up, put your fingers together, and make your open your thumb up as wide as you can. It's really far down now, next to your wrist when you bring your thumb down. Where before it used to be way up high, like with your index finger, you used to make like a little dip there. Now it's quite long, where that's wider, and you know, that was a really quick change.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I'd like to throw it to Brian there. Is there a topic that you want to catch on there, or?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit. I've been trying to throw things in there here and there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Brian.
No, we get
talking. I took over. I'm sorry. I got overexcited.
I feel like such a white belt in here compared to compared to your work. You've been tracking it since 1982, and like, I'm a noob. Like, I've only been with it for about a year and a couple months.
You know, I think it's exciting, and I'm really proud of you guys. When I watch, because I do watch a lot of times, I'll watch, and watching you guys grow is so wonderful to me. You know, I was saying this to him earlier. It's like, for me, it's exciting, because when I used to come out with this stuff many, many years ago, 10, 15 years ago, I was called a kook. People would say, "Oh, there's something wrong with you." Yeah, I don't see it. You know, they wouldn't see these changes. And I was telling him how this one guy, I was in an interview, in an actual television interview, and this guy was in there, and he kept going, bullshit, bullshit.
No.
Make me look like an idiot. Right? And so I just let it slide, because it's not in my nature to say F you this and that. So, which I did feel like saying, right? But you know what happened? A year later, which was this year, this guy wrote me this real long letter apologizing to me, because he finally started seeing what we're seeing.
Wow. You know? Well, maybe there is hope then for the.
Oh, they'll wake up. People wake up. Just give them time. Just give them time.
It's amazing. I mean, I remember when it was a handful of people, and now look at. I mean, it's in the thousands, if not millions, now of people that are actually realizing, holy crap, you know.
Well, my daughters believe it wholeheartedly. It's great, except for my wife. But my daughters, man, they're totally into it, you know.
Oh,
my person changed on me to something different.
Greatest time I have is when I go food shopping.
I want to hear from Joker there.
Hi, Joker.
What's up, Joker?
Hey guys.
Hey, Joker.
What's up?
Oh, his name's Joker.
I got my face on tonight, guys. Hey, Alice.
Mwah. My brother's here.
Happy late birthday, Meeks.
Hey, thank you. Can you do a line from the original Batman for me?
What? Sure.
Like the Michael Keaton one.
Which one do you want?
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is a really not Christian line, but
Oh.
okay.
Is it the dancing one?
Me and my brother used to say this to each other, like just randomly. But can you do this town needs an enema?
Okay. All right, I'm gonna do it in my Joker voice, but this town needs an enema.
Yeah.
Yay.
This world, I'm telling you.
Oh, right? I know.
Excuse me for saying so. But
It's all right.
It's the truth, though.
We all need it.
No, I just got back from seeing Justice League. It was awesome. It was great. I'm so happy.
Yes, I saw it earlier too. It was good.
Oh, I hate you guys. I wanted to see it.
It was awesome.
Where
That's why he's dressed up like Joker, right?
That's right. I got lots of pictures too.
Wait,
I'm
did
just
you go to Comic-Con? Where'd you go?
No, I went and saw Justice League.
Ah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I hate it. The Punisher's on Netflix right now, and I want to binge
Right?
it so bad.
Marvel is trying so hard to like fight with DC when it comes to stuff like that. They can't beat this one. They can't. I'm sorry. Just saying.
Well, speaking of Marvel, you know, Marvel is one of those that's kind of merged, isn't it?
Yeah, they have.
I still can't look at Marvel the same way anymore. There's another interesting logo that was brought to my attention through Damian Gross.
Mm-hmm.
He's like my Star Wars guy.
Right.
Check this out. Dairy Queen. The old logo points to the 6 o'clock position. Does anyone remember that at all? That's freaking me out.
Oh, that is.
Oh, that's weird. No.
2007. Look at that. It's pointing straight down. Does anyone remember that?
No.
I don't.
No.
My brain wants to put it over here to the side to the 5 o'clock. Hurts my head. Anyway.
Well, if you want to find Mandela effects, just go food shopping.
Keen enough to notice that.
Yeah, that's all you gotta do, right?
Oh, that reminds me. I remembered a Joker Mandela effect today, Brian, just for you.
What's the new effect?
You tell.
Okay, so as everyone knows, I'm very well versed in Joker stuff. So my favorite one. I know that's a shock. I know. Try to sit down and breathe about that. But my favorite one is Batman the Animated Series Joker, that's voiced by Mark Hamill. Now, that came out in 1992, and that's about as long as I've been doing the Joker. So we're like, what, over 20 years? So probably about 6 months ago, found out that Tim Curry, the Rocky Horror Picture Show guy, originally auditioned for Joker, which is not the Mandela Effect part. I knew he auditioned, but the original was he auditioned, then Mark Hamill came in and did like this laugh he had been working on, and then they decided to go with Mark Hamill instead of Tim Curry. Well, here's the Mandela Effect part. Tim Curry recorded 4 episodes as the Joker.
What?
4 episodes, and this is like.
So it wasn't like he stole the interview. It was like they were going to go with him.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah. And now the thing is, like, they were going to go with Tim Curry, but the way he did the Joker was really creepy because he did it more like Pennywise. And so they decided to go with Mark Hamill because Mark Hamill was more kid-friendly.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What's up, Ty?
And I never knew that. Hey, Ty. But I never knew that. Like,
Hey, Ty.
Kind of like Michael J. Fox wasn't the original in Back to the Future.
Yeah, it wasn't original. Yeah, like that.
That one freaks me out. Because I mean, I feel like that would have been well known.
Yeah.
Like at least somewhat known, you know.
How do you think
I've
How do you think I feel? I have
bizarre.
all these videos and all these books, and I'm like, what? Tim Curry was never. Yeah, he was.
What about Michael J. Fox? Who was supposed to be instead of him?
Eric Stoltz.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
Yeah.
My old boss was his landlord for a while. She, her house, her and her husband had like made it so that their downstairs had like a studio apartment because they had like a place in the Hollywood Hills, and it made it more affordable. And him and his girlfriend rented, and apparently they were super noisy and massive dicks. So
damn.
Yeah. Eric Stoltz. Don't ever rent to Eric Stoltz. Yeah.
Moral of the story.
If he tries to rent from you, he slams doors a lot and like apparently like slams cabinets and is kind of a rude asshole. So
Well, he was angry that he was usurped by the real.
Yeah, it's probably all it probably all goes back to the Michael J. Fox Back to the Future thing.
Yeah.
It probably just stems from there, you know.
I should have been Marty McFly, damn it. That should have been me.
Yeah.
He's still angry about it.
If I was him, I'd be so jealous. Isn't there? There's like one particular scene. There's only one scene where you can kind of see Eric Stoltz, right? It's when
I would love to, Don.
I think they did the corners.
Huh?
Oh, Dawn in the chat, she was telling me to tell people what Facebook is saying about the Mandela effect.
Oh, Alex,
yes, what
please,
Facebook
dude,
saying?
that was crazy.
Oh, the
yeah, I made a video about it. So one of our loyal subs to our gathering channel she brought this to our attention. She had posted something about the Mandela effect on Facebook, and when she did so, it gave her a drop-down option to seek mental help. And
God.
Yes. And it was like, do you feel like you're going to harm yourself? Like, do you need mental help? Like, seriously. Yeah. So, I posted a video showing like she videotaped it, and, I posted the video of that, and I did a Google search and put in Mandela effect, and now the first couple things that came up was a psychiatric something from I think it was Psychology Today, and the second one was like a drug and alcohol treatment page, both of which were just talking about how we're fucking crazy. Sorry. I'm sorry, Brian. I forget. My bad. I'm used to my show. I'm used to my show where I'm dropping the F-bomb all the time. I apologize.
Yeah, our show is kind of open like that.
I need to be on your show, Alice. I keep trying not to.
I'm sorry.
I behave myself.
It's okay.
I sent you a residual, Brian. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not.
Where's it at? Where'd you send it?
In back chat.
And what she did also is, she posted about AI. She posted about a couple other like fringe topics, and it did not give the same mental health advice or option when she did that. It was only when she posted about the Mandela effect. So,
that's bizarre.
As I, predicted, this movie coming out, this whole, like, it's all geared towards making us look crazy. So, just putting it out there, yeah, that's going down.
Well, to build on what you just said, they have started naming each one of the things that we experienced. They started naming them. As a psychosis.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we get
This right here is-
ability for that?
You guys see that? You
They
guys tell me you guys see that.
They
Okay.
actually talk about that in the Psychology Today article. They use a couple of the things and discuss that. Yeah, I just didn't get into it because I didn't want to give it more time than it
Or your
deserved,
energy,
you know?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
same
thought that'd be
time,
good for your residuals there,
major
Teresa.
physicists are acknowledging that there's a reality outside of our reality that's different from our reality, that the likelihood that we are a simulation, all those things keep coming up.
Right.
So I'm sure Migs can go on about the Bible, like on and on, how we're all crazy about just what changed there.
Well, I've seen it for myself. Meeks, tell me about Matthew 11:15. The eyes to
I've
see
seen it
and
too,
ears to
Meeks.
hear.
Oh, the eyes to see.
They took away the eyes to see in Matthew 11:15. That bugs me.
Yeah. That's
Alice,
the way
you
that
look
these
at
Does it say
things are
now,
manifesting,
Meeks?
you know?
Meeks, what does it say now if it doesn't say eyes? What does it say? Or it doesn't say nothing?
I thought it still said eyes, but not ears. It used to be eyes to see and ears to hear.
Oh, it only says ears. Whoever
It
has
says
ears,
ears?
let
Really?
them hear. Yeah, instead
Yeah,
of
that's
the
ridiculous.
eyes to see and ears to hear.
Sounds like the eyes got gouged
Well, I
out.
thought I could have swore the ears were the ones that were cut out.
But maybe it
Alice,
was,
in the Psychology Today that you were reading,
Yeah.
did it mention anything about confabulation? If you were perusing it.
I don't recall that coming up. Might have done. You are.
Yeah, because I think confabulation is the only place that they can go.
You are invited to go watch a video. I don't know. I don't remember, honestly. I can check my history actually. If you want to give me a minute, I'll go into my history and.
That'd be great. Because I really think that confabulation is just a nice, polite way of calling everybody crazy.
Yeah.
Right, of course.
I think the confabulation is for
polite went out the window when they used that drop down.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but one Psychology Today and one Facebook.
You know, that's just me. You know.
Which, like I try to tell people, you don't have to be crazy to follow this stuff, but it helps.
Yeah.
No, I think we're the sanest people on the planet, really.
Yeah.
We're not crazy. We're the sane ones, you know.
Normal's only on a washing machine, you guys.
Oh yeah. Totally. High five.
Normal is.
Yeah, what is normal anymore?
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I think with the eyes to see, I think it's still in. I think it's still in the Old Testament, but not in the New Testament anymore.
That's ridiculous. That right there, guys, is definitely change.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's much too short, especially for Matthew. Much too short.
Right.
Yeah. Much too short.
I can't get over Aaron's staff now turning into a snake. I can't get over all of them, really. I mean, it's like all.
Well, I like the half italicized words, Meeks.
Hey, but
dude, oh my god.
Yeah, that was great.
Brian, I'm interested.
What's next? What's with the half italicized words?
Oh, it's
tell me.
total nonsense, garbage.
Well, what does it mean?
Who half italicizes a word? You know?
Well, you know where the italicized words come from, right?
People.
Where?
No, the italicized words come from they were added there.
Right.
When they did that, when they did the translation.
To make the meaning make more sense.
No, the italicized words the italicized words were simply added. They're italicized because they're added. So a half italicized word doesn't even make sense.
Exactly.
Why would they do that? I added the T and the H, not the A and the T. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But that's a good catch.
Yeah, the italicized words originally, before the Mandela Effect corrupted everything, they were originally just supplementary words to add, to make the meaning, to make the translation a little bit better into English, from the Greek and the Hebrew. And that's still when you look it up, like why are the italicized words in the KJV? That's still what it's saying, but it doesn't have anything about the half italicized words anywhere you look, like in any
they were never
commentaries
there.
or anything.
Well, the biggest thing with
So
the
bizarre.
Bible changes for people who know the Bible, the original King James, the authentic King James from 1611, is supposed to be very proper Middle English. I had when I was in college, I was a Bible major. I had Dr. Tate. He was fluent in Hebrew, graduated from Harvard, and he told me that, we asked him in a class, which translation do you think follows the original Greek and Hebrew the closest? And he said the original King James, the authentic King James. It's hard to read, but it's the one that follows it the closest. Now, there's no way you can read the words that are in there today and see that. If anything, the 1611 version of the Bible it's become modern with bottles and presidents and all these slang words, and the whole thing has just gotten so modernized. I mean, the whole thing is just a miracle. And how it can be denied by anybody in a church just blows my mind.
Guys,
well, that's another thing. They just don't see it. I think that is the antithesis to confabulation. Those people who outright reject it or don't see it. I think that's the antithesis to the confabulation theory.
Right.
I got an update on the staff. I was looking up on YouTube, and Moses, like at least in the movie, he had the staff, and he gave it to Aaron, and Aaron put it down. So I don't know if that's why they're calling it Aaron's staff.
I know you're looking at that, Brian. That's you, right, with the interlinear text there.
You guys see this? It says wineskins right here. Still says wineskins in the Greek.
Good residual.
Wineskins in the Greek right there.
Yeah.
What version is that in there, Brian?
What is a bottle of skin?
Scripture for all. Yeah, what is a bottle of skin?
Guys.
Well,
I saw that on the Silence of the Lambs.
Another one for a way to find a residual for mirror mirror on the wall is still said the same way when you look it up in Dutch in their Dutch book.
Oh wow!
Alice in Wonderland book. Yeah, I have a Dutch guy in our thing. He said, "Hey, it's still the same in my language." I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
In the movie for him in
Just
Dutch.
in Dutch, yeah.
Wow, that's great residual.
Interesting, right?
Weird.
Yeah.
Other countries seem to be changing slower than the North American,
Yeah.
The North America, like I don't know why that is. That's so strange.
Maybe we're more connected to the media in this country than they are in other countries.
I think too, like when you're concentrating on some that you're not like copy and pasting it, but using your thought and recreating it, it doesn't really get affected by the change as much.
Yeah, I don't know. People's Bibles in other countries are changing differently too. Like the translations are different too. It's just so strange.
You have an example, Meg?
Sorry.
Instead of what was that change? Let me for Ezekiel 23:20, the one with the like.
Is that the one with the donkeys?
Stallion genitals and the emissions,
I saw that video.
They somebody's Spanish Bible said that the woman was acting like an animal instead of all this stuff about like genitals and donkey. Like she was behaving like a wild horse or something.
Yeah.
And in another verse, I forgot which one it was, but
like a donkey? What? What's that? There, she lusted after a lover whose genitals were like those of donkeys.
Yeah, I hate to bring this verse up again. I don't want this to be associated.
Yeah, that's that right there. See that click on that KJV right there, Brian.
My friend,
I'm going to shut up to that one.
Okay, it was my
Brian,
friend
click on that
in
one.
France.
She doted upon the paramours.
It was a Bible de Jerusalem. That verse for him did not exist, and instead it said, she behaved as a wild stallion, committing
Yeah.
fornication with, other, foreigners or whatever. So it totally didn't have that verse in there, or that verse in particular was totally different.
But isn't the NIV more accurate now? I mean, that has a lot of residual in it.
Now it is compared to the
it is
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's the only version I kind of use anymore. You know, it's the most accurate.
Guys,
to
what
the
about
old way.
that one with Matthew 6? Matthew 6 is a big one for me.
Well, you got to understand. No, hold on a second. What you just said there, Brian and Migs, when you said about the most accurate, the NIV.
Yeah.
What's that?
Okay. You guys just said that the NIV is the more accurate or the most accurate. The NIV does not.
It seems the most accurate to all the effects. Yeah.
Right, from the effect standpoint, but you got to understand the NIV and the King James Bible don't even come from the same set of manuscripts. They're not the same at all. They're different. One comes from the Texas.
No, yeah. I mean, the NIV, they eliminated the blood scriptures and omitted.
No, that's just eliminated the scriptures.
Texts,
They come.
But as
in other
far as
words, let's say that Megs is from St. Louis. Megs is from St. Louis, and I'm from New York. Okay, the NIV and the King James version come from two different sets of manuscripts entirely. One comes from the Textus Receptus,
right,
the Andreas, and the Vaticanus, and the Sinaiticus. They're completely different sets of manuscripts. Yes, they're similar, but they're not the same. So it's very odd that you would say that the NIV is now more.
Well, it's more like, I mean, they have wineskins in the NIV. They don't have couch.
Exactly.
I mean, it's
They don't have
actually
bankers and banks and
they don't have the cow. I mean, the donkeys doing crazy stuff. The women or whatever.
Here's guys, real quick, you guys. I'm only showing as we speak right now. There's only one Bible that's correct with the Lord's Prayer, and that's the NMB. And forgive us our trespasses as we forgive them that trespass against us.
That's the New Modern Bible. Is that what that is?
Yeah. The rest is all debts and debtors. That's a big one.
Yeah, well, I talked to my priest about it, and he thinks it's debtors. So, what do I know? Went to Bible school, and it was always trespass. So,
wow. Yeah, there's not much you can do if they have the memory of the change.
Yeah, right.
It's been that way for
I went to my friend's Catholic wedding, and they said the Lord's Prayer, and they said transgressions.
Oh yeah.
Really? Yeah, that's what I heard too.
And on the earth, not in the earth.
That was one for sins.
That's crazy.
My husband's in AA, and they say the Lord's Prayer at every meeting, and he said it's not changed one bit. It's still exactly the same.
That's
people
really
that say it from memory tend to say it the old way. But if you actually look it up in the Bible, it's crazy.
Guys,
I mean, well, they're reading it off of.
Wow.
I was going to say, I have some residue that Tanette Hunter sent to me. Let me find that real quick for you. It's on Isaiah 11.
Oh, nice.
We recorded it before the change.
All right, before we get too far off topic there, Brian, I got to ask Megs. How does it feel to be 30, Megs?
Oh my gosh, it feels really good, but mostly because Brian put that video out with all you guys saying messages, saying wonderful messages.
That was really good, Brian.
Oh my goodness. I just saw that a couple hours ago, and I'm like, that's like the best birthday present I have ever gotten.
I'll say happy birthday to Migs because I didn't know. I know now. Happy birthday, darling.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it definitely feels weird that like 30 is a weird birthday, and just by itself, like regardless of like experiencing the Mandela effect on top of it. But I mean, there's not too many other places that I'd rather be in life than
that's right. You know what? Family don't mean blood.
Yep. Yeah.
Numbers don't mean anything, and you know
That's
what? 30 is a piece of cake, man. 30 is a piece of cake.
Yeah, I'm saying the
40.
40
is a different story.
No, 40 is the new 30. 40 is 30.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with
Sure
40.
things.
Here, let me share this with
40's
you
when
guys.
your body falls
But
apart.
I did now than I did 20 years ago.
Oh wow!
Thank you, Tonette.
Look at that. The handwriting didn't change.
Yeah, then the lion
Wait.
shall lay down with the lamb, and the bear shall eat grass like the ox, and the child shall play on the hole of the asp, and nothing shall hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain. Isaiah 11:6.
Who's noticed
Wow,
that?
beautiful.
So what's the hole of the asp? Is that a hole in a mountain? What does that mean? Or
The
asp is
asp
a
is a
snake,
snake.
isn't it?
It's a cobra in
Yeah,
particular.
okay.
The snake, yeah.
So what's the hole of it?
Like
the hole of the asp is like where it buries itself in the ground.
Okay. Oh, okay. I get
So
it.
who's noticed that? Who wrote that?
That's Tonette Hunter. For whatever reason, her handwriting did not change. Thank the Lord.
That's cool.
Thanks,
You know what's funny?
Isaiah 11.
You ever hear people on YouTube or wherever they'll be saying that we're crazy? They'll be saying the Mandela Effect people are crazy, and they'll start giving examples of how we're crazy. And it's so many times they'll give an example, and they're wrong. Like they're saying something that has changed, and to them they don't even realize it's changed. So they're I've heard somebody say, you know, it's always been the lion chalet with the lamb. These people are crazy. That's like
I know.
no, it is.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, they do. They're saying the Mandela Effect, not even realizing they're saying it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I've
Oh
heard
my
that. So many
gosh.
times.
Well, there's also so many
trust me, I've been
officially like paid gaslighters out there too. I mean, if we knew.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I just don't even think we could imagine like how like the extent. I mean, the whole movie, The Mandela Effect, is like a movie set up to gaslight us with, you know, everybody. And could you imagine? I mean, if it was a legit movie, it would be, first of all, it would be a documentary. Second of all the actors would be like in these chats, like wanting to study up on their roles. If they were actually good actors, they would be wanting to figure out what it is they're trying to portray. They haven't contacted anybody, like any one of us in the community. I mean, it's
no, you're right. There's this guy who's
want-
writing a movie. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just want to say to Marlene that who's been in it longer than we have. Like, I've only been roughly close to 2 years, and you've been going through this for a long, long time. And all I can say, like, I can't imagine what you were thinking back then, but I mean, all of us now see how many people have come together on this, and we're together. And thank God, like we're you know what I mean?
Right.
We're not crazy. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that you, Marlene, see it now that back then it wasn't something that, you know.
Oh gosh, it was horrible. It was horrible to discuss this stuff to people.
Aww.
You know, being called Meigs, you went through this a few months ago.
Yeah.
Remember?
We're all
It's like you
going through it, but for you, Marlene, I want to give you a big fat hug. Like,
Yep.
I just
Yep.
couldn't even imagine if you didn't have a support group. Oh my gosh, girl.
It was like, and especially when I started doing videos and stuff, and then people would flag my videos because they're saying I was crazy. So, you know.
And YouTube wasn't even around, so I mean, you were just
I'm
confined
talking
to your
about when I
town.
started making videos, because I was making videos quite a few years ago. I'm talking about when, you know, when YouTube started getting a little bit whatever. I was doing them on VO also, and some were taken down. So it's like, but yeah, I got put through the ringer, but I didn't care because I knew what I see and I trust myself.
Right, right on.
Yep.
Right on.
It was only hard when you get people that are really mean.
Yeah.
You know, like very hateful ones, right?
Irrationally hostile. Did you get the irrational hostility like right when this started happening? Like even back in the 80s?
Oh yeah. Even still, there's still some, but you know, the wonderful thing and why I love you guys so much, you have no idea. When it's like each one of you have different people that you talk with, and you know, all these pieces of the puzzle are all fitting together perfectly. And just watching, I mean, I've watched you guys' channels just grow so humongous, only because you believe so much in yourself and you're not afraid to say the truth. Now, I run across people, I get these emails every day of people that are awoke, but they're afraid to tell people. They're so scared of what the backlash will be that a lot of times I'm the only person they'll tell. You know, I've seen young men, and 2 of them in particular, that their parents put them in the mental hospital.
Oh man.
You know, it is cool to see people at least open up, even if they don't wake up, they're open up. Because I've told in the last year so many people, so many things that I've seen to so many people, and it's funny because people you would never think that they've had a bizarre experience will open up and say, you know, even if they haven't seen the Mandela Effect, they'll still tell me something very personal, something very real about something that happened to them that was supernatural, or you know, this is something really bizarre, and you'd never think that they would say anything like that, and here they're opening up like that. And I'm doing more interviews on my channel like that with people that I know, and people I'm meeting for the first time. They're just sharing their bizarre, supernatural experience.
This is where I want to thank like all you guys, because like I'm not a video guy. I put I probably have like 2 or 3 videos total. Chemtrails was a big thing, but like I thank Brian for letting me come on here all the time, and I met like Migs and a bunch of you like through groups on Facebook, and like I don't do videos because I don't want to put out the same stuff that everybody else is, like, because
but you know what, Seeker, look at it this way, you might have people that they don't have, like you might get people, and then that'll introduce them into other things, because you know there's a lot of people like their videos may seem the same, it's just because we know each other in those ways, but there are people that may come across yours because you're the first.
Well, Alice,
so try to think of it that way.
The thing is also, when I look at your guys' videos, you have such a great personality, Alice, and Meg's has a great personality too. Really comes through in your videos, and I don't think I could match that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We have
your videos are really good.
But we have different. We probably have a lot of different subscribers too.
Exactly.
You know?
Right.
So I mean,
we all have. You know, definitely.
And you don't know.
We have a lot of the same, but we probably have a lot of different. You know? So,
let's say if somebody you know, searches out Mandela Effect, how do you know that your video ain't going to be the first one up? So that's the one they're going to see. So you might be, you know, Seeker, if you feel like you don't want to make a video because it's like the same. It's not going to be really the same.
No, well, I want to.
You're different.
If I were to find something that would lead to what we're going through, then I would put it up. But I don't want to just regurgitate, because I'm always on the chats and I'm watching your videos, so I don't want to put the same stuff out. You know what I mean? If I would find my own personal thing, that's what I mean. Like I would put a video out there, but I don't want to just put the same stuff out there. Like that's the way I feel about it. So.
Right.
I'm castigated enough. I don't need to be castigated more.
Wait, what'd you say?
Investigated. Yeah.
Guys, I've been praying we make a new form of YouTube.
Yeah.
Let's make it Me Too with a capital M-E.
Right. What a good idea.
That's pretty good, Brian. You can use that.
And if you come across a copyrighted video, let's not block it. Let's give the original person credit and
don't
right.
Don't do
and
that.
not block it.
It just
Don't
makes
block
it
it for everybody.
Yeah, it just makes it more difficult for everyone else, especially, you know, the people creating videos. They're putting so much into it. You know, don't make it harder for them. You know.
See, Diane says her husband can take only so much of the Mandela talk. He refuses to go into the chat room.
Oh, that's
trust me, I got worse than that. Around here.
Oh my gosh.
I had an exchange like that. I left a guy because of he changed. Like he was not the original personality that I fell in love with. And I tried to stick it out, but the last 2 years he was not the same person. I mean, even the way he looked changed. He just was not the same person. Then he used to gaslight me. He would do that, pull that. If he didn't, you know, if he argued with me or whatever, he'd say, "Oh, that's your Mandela effect."
No.
Yeah.
Oh God. That's his answer to everything you're saying. His breakdown to everything. Mandela effect. You like coffee, 2 grains, 1 sugar. Oh, Mandela Effect.
Yeah.
What?
Hey,
Yeah. Yeah.
guys,
If I left, I had to leave, you know.
who remembers McDonald's without the apostrophe?
Oh, weird.
It has an apostrophe now. I kind of remember it without the apostrophe.
I can't even picture it.
I can't say for sure, and I should know.
I'm gonna tell you, I worked at Lowe's. Lowe's is one of those that changed for me back around October. Lowe's had no apostrophe, and now it does.
Well,
weird.
you know, this guy in the chat room yesterday was saying for him he remembers, you know, how Eagles, the band Eagles, used to be the Eagles. I remember it always being just Eagles.
I remember the Eagles.
Yeah,
I remember the Eagles. Part of the name.
The Eagles. Now it's just Eagles.
You know, there's
it was just Eagles. Now it's the Eagles or something. He said, or it's opposite. I don't know.
Difference for me.
I get confused with that.
Yeah. You know, some of these
Cindy says,
we see
Cindy
and we
says
say.
Lazy Boy.
I'll tell you, like
When you're saying it.
Popeyes.
Right.
You know, Brian
Popeye
did
says
that
on Popeye.
video on Popeye and the apostrophe.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it the other day thinking, my God, that thing looks like it should have an apostrophe. It just seems wrong the way it is. But I didn't have a strong, you know, really strong memory. It was just like it kind of looks like it could have. But some of these things are so vivid and so real and just changing right before you. So that's where it used to be if I saw something that didn't look right, I just question my own memory. But after seeing enough of this stuff change, now I just question reality.
Right.
I see Cynthia's here.
Hey, Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia.
Hi.
Oh my God.
Hello.
Hi.
It's about time. I waited all this time for you to get here, girl.
Wow. Can I get your autograph?
Just sign it on the screen.
Yeah, she'll sign it. She's not signing autographs tonight.
Awesome.
Hi, Cynthia.
We have such a lively chat right now. I think we've hit just about 60 viewers right now. It's not very much. You know, we always have a great audience and great participants. And I'm not sure if you know any of these other people in here, but there's quite a few here that have their own channels.
Excellent.
You know her, right?
Yeah,
you know, Meeks B.
I think we weren't on together, but we've both been on Taryn Lubo's channel.
Right. That's true.
Awesome.
I think so.
So I'll let you have the floor.
Okay.
It's no
Well,
surprise.
I don't know what's happened so far. What would should I introduce myself or excuse me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, people might know me from my website, Reality Shifters, and basically my interest in Mandela effects is that I've been researching this phenomenon since the 1990s, before it had that name, Mandela Effect. So my background is in physics, and because I've been familiar with this phenomenon for so many years now, and I can start recognizing that actually I was witnessing it through the years in my life, in childhood, young adulthood, and people didn't talk about it. But to me, with my background in physics, it looks to me like there's a possible explanation from a physics side of things as to what's going on, which doesn't necessarily change anything in the experience. Like for those people that experience the Mandela effect, I've been tracking people's responses to it. I've done 2 surveys in this field called reality shift surveys. So you have to keep in mind the terminology I was originally using was based on my looking around for some kind of word to use, and that's what I came up with that seemed to resonate for most people. Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. What was the first year that you recognized it?
What was the first what? The first
What was the first year that you think that you recognized it? Or could you say if it was
Well, if you're talking, there are different kinds of things going on here. So I think that's worth discussing too, because what's so cool about the Mandela effect is finally, thanks to the internet, we've got enough people easily able to talk to each other to compare notes. And I don't think that's ever been true, at least not in my lifetime, that people could exchange notes and find out, does this look like it changed to you also? So so I didn't really have Mandela effect experiences in the 60s and 70s because there's no way that I could have been possibly exchanging information with that many people. And when I was growing
interesting.
Yeah.
So would have just been, you would have just considered it like a change for you, but not necessarily a phenomenon of any sort.
Right. And often when I notice things change, like I would notice that something that happened a couple of times when I was growing up is that I would hear a song that the person on the radio was saying was brand new and it had never been played before. And I don't think they were lying, but somehow I was already sick of the song because I'd heard it before so much. And to the point of being like exhausted of it. And I'm not the only one. So that's another test for people if they want to remember, did you notice these things earlier than the 2000s, earlier than the 1990s?
Yes. Cynthia, we have another special guest here with us. We got Marlena Mandela Effect. She's been tracking it, she says, since the 80s, since 82.
Excellent.
Yeah. Hi, Cynthia.
Hi.
You know, you're right. And a lot of times what happens is someone will see something and notice there's something different, but they dismiss it a lot of times. Not taking the time to say, hey, this is a change. Like I'm talking about through our life, you know. You'll see something, oh, I thought that was a little different. Or like you said with songs, you'll sing a song a certain way and then all of a sudden find out the words are a little different. You know, and not question it. People don't question what they, you know, experience sometimes.
Exactly. Or you might doubt yourself, or you doubt other people, and people would just move on. And I think that's how a lot of these experiences were happening through the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. I don't know about before the 60s because I'm a 60s girl. So I can't testify to anything else, but I know I've experienced things changing all my life. And I think that when you think about it that way, then I hope people can be a little bit calmer, because there's been a lot of panic, I think, about this whole phenomenon, especially recently.
Right. Well, you know, Cynthia, it's interesting that you said that, because when we talk about it in our ceremonies, because, you know, I told like the medicine men and stuff not too long ago, I said, you know, they did coin it, you know, when Fiona coined it, the Mandela effect. They laughed. They thought it was so funny. And I said, well, what did you tell me to tell people? And they said, well, you call it, it's life. This is what happens.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I've gone to lots of shamanism conferences, and I've met with indigenous elders, and I even wrote an article called Tunatiava Comes True Being Hoped For Parabola magazine, which is exactly what you're talking about. It's the very ancient tradition of knowing that when you basically have this feeling in your heart and a clear vision of what you need and what you are imagining, that these things happen, and basically reality shifts, or whatever you want to call it. It's life, as they would call it.
That's right. Yeah, because I'm brought up with my teachings, right? Our culture is still very strong, so a lot of these things, like what you're talking about, what we would call goose caps, because that's what, you know, basically that coming across everybody as in waking up together kind of deal, if I say it in English, right?
Right.
Cynthia, I just want to ask, with your aspects, like in background in physics, what do you think that applies to what's happening?
Oh, thank you. Yes.
That's a great question. Thank you.
Yeah, I love the question. Well, basically, what I feel is happening is that most of our Western cultures have been conditioned through the scientific upbringing and the classes that we take and the training and the education we get to be focused primarily on classical physics and what I would call a very structured, materialistic basis for all of our science. And That doesn't work anymore. In fact, it hasn't worked since about 1900 when quantum physics was born, and the physicist Max Planck coined the term quanta. And I don't want everyone's eyes to glaze over, so I'll make it short. But basically what happened is quantum physics came along, and that's only been 117 years now. So we've barely, as humans, we've barely had any time at all to figure out how to deal with some of the questions that quantum physics forces us to face. And people don't want to face these questions about how do you basically account for the observer, which plays a primary role in all of quantum physics. And so I realize that I'm on the fringe right now, and I'm not the mainstream physics voice speaking out. However, I expect that will change, and I'll tell you why. Because, and I should, before I do that, I should explain what I'm really saying. It's such a good question. I'll put it in a nutshell. My elevator speech for this would be, what I'm suggesting is that the very strange, spooky added distance phenomenon and superposition of states, behavior, and all of the weirdness that happens with quantum physics, where it really does matter where you're looking and what you're looking for, what you see. What I'm saying is that that is also true for every single level of reality. So it's not just that we're seeing quantum jumps on the microscopic scale. And the thing that I'm saying that's so far out is I'm saying we can expect to occasionally see macroscopic changes. And then if you pay attention to the new fields of quantum biology, for example, and there's you're going to see quantum in front of every single science. There's going to be quantum chemistry. There's already quantum astronomy. And each of these fields is saying the same thing I am saying right now, but they're doing it in their little narrow niche. And they're not saying it as broadly as I'm saying it. Things are going to change. Basically, in a nutshell, history does not always stay the same, and facts change. And the entire way that we do logic is going to change. And I think some of our ancient traditions and our spiritual faiths knew this in advance. People, I think Jesus Christ knew it. So when you look at things like the Bible, I think you can see evidence and signs within that. And I know this is that kind of community where you care about this. So I think you can actually see evidence right there. If you look for it, that you should be able to tell that Jesus knew this, and the way that miracles can happen, there's actually a science behind it. That's what I'm saying too. Absolutely. We talk about this stuff, when we do our teachings here. We talk about how, we are able to do these changes within ourselves. People that do the manifest, they manifest, and you do it all the time. You manifest in your own stuff, and now it's what do you do next, right? So you have to remember to be kind and positive to each other over this whole entire thing. That's right. Yeah. That's so important. And the other thing that this raises is the idea of, if we have these kind of powers, then like you say, what are we going to do with it? I think that was under what you were saying about the kindness. It matters so much. Because if we start thinking that I'm just going to get mine and claw my way to the top, that doesn't work anymore. I don't think it ever did work, but it really doesn't work now. And that's why
where's my piece of the pie? That kind of thing doesn't work. What were you saying, Todd? Hi.
I did have a question for you.
Okay, go ahead.
I have read a lot of your stuff, and I had a question for you on the multiple universe theory. On it, seeing that many people that are experiencing the Mandela effect have experienced the Mandela effect in the very same way, but this one set of people believe in one set of things, another set of people believe in an entirely different set of things, but they're both Mandela affected. That is, they're different from the norm. How do you explain that? Do you believe in the multiple universe theory?
Well, I'm still considering all of the different interpretations of quantum physics. So I basically am open to the multiverse concept. And I wrote a book, Quantum Jumps, where I use... Sorry.
Opinion. Just your personal opinion, obviously. Do you think there's something to it?
I like a version of it. I like a version of the holographic multiverse idea, which is the one that I present in my book, Quantum Jumps. I've written about other interpretations also that I'm also quite fond of the transactional interpretation. I should back up and explain what I'm talking about, because people might not know what's what here. These different things I'm describing are different interpretations, which are a way of giving meaning and sort of the backstory to what's going on to interpret the quantum physics equations, the Hamiltonians, the Lagrangians, and so forth that describe physical reality. Because the mathematics works no matter what. And then what happens is the physicists, well, everybody wants to know, why does the math work and what's really going on? And there's something called the measurement problem, where there's a question about wave function collapse. This is the key to what some people consider the boundary between the quantum and classical realm, if you will. So the quantum physics world is actually... What? Sorry.
The spooky action is what you're referring to.
Spooky action is
that would be
the
more
particles tangled.
Yeah, yes. Spooky action refers to entanglement. And now I'm talking about the measurement problem itself, which has to do with the observer, as I was talking about earlier, observing something happening, like watching a double slit experiment where a photon is being fired through a couple of parallel slits. And the apparatus of the experiment consists of the photon that's firing, so it's like a little photon gun, the interference board with the two slits cut in it, and then a screen. And then the way the experiment, there are lots of different versions of the experiment, but just to cut to the chase here, what happens is if you set up some sort of an observation device inside one of the slits, then you can know for sure which slit the photon went through. And as soon as you're able to observe that, then it changes the result you see on the screen. So this is one version of the experiment. So
only because the observer effect.
Yeah,
right. Because the observer effect. Right. So, in one regard, it acts like a particle. In one way, it acts like a wave.
Yes.
And it depends whether or not you're looking at it.
Yeah, it only changes if there's an observer actually looking.
And
so, doesn't make any sense. What is? I wanted to ask. What is the math behind? What is the math behind that? I mean, is there any solid explanation why it changes when it's being observed?
Well, thanks for asking. Yeah, Richard Feynman did a great job describing how the mathematics works and how to picture it with equations. And he was such a colorful character. I didn't actually know him personally, but I know some of his students, like Fred Allen Wolf, and people that knew him. And I'm friends with Fred Allen Wolf and Henry Stapp, the physicist, and George Weissman. I know quite a few of these so-called hippies who saved physics. And what they did is they said, we don't want to shut up and calculate. We want to get together at this fundamental physics group that they had at UC Berkeley in the 70s and talk about what's really going on. And what they talked about was exactly this. I mean, they didn't talk about the Mandela effect, but they did talk about the multiverse and what happens if this all these things like spooky action at a distance, the entanglement, is happening on a macroscopic scale. That means that perhaps people would be intuitive. They might know when the phone is going to ring, and they might know who's on the phone, for example. There might be real effects of prayer, for example. So there's a very clear link here between some of the things that Jesus Christ teaches in the Bible, and I think it's directly related to a spiritual path personally. That's a whole separate subject.
That goes back with consciousness affecting reality.
I was just thinking, when Cynthia, when you said Berkeley in the 70s and quantum physics, I was just thinking of the social implications. This must have been 3 people very lonely eating pizza, talking about before computers. Can you imagine the stack of books and that trying to get along?
Yeah.
3 of them talking about it because they're the only 3 people that understood in all of California.
Right. Oh, it was a bigger group than 3.
Yeah, I know. But
there was another one of those experiments with the retrocausality, where they shoot one electron at a time in an interference pattern, and there's no way that the electrons could interfere with each other because they shoot them at one at a time, but yet they do interfere with themselves, creating an interference pattern, even though it was just one at a time. So it shows retro causality as far as it creating its own interference pattern,
That's right.
which I found was really interesting. And that's the reason why the Mandela effect makes perfect sense with quantum mechanics, because what we're experiencing is the macro reality of what quantum mechanics is, which
That's
is, I think,
exactly.
it's so cool.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
totally
proves
agree.
it. It
Yes.
proves it. I mean, we have our living proof. We don't have to do experiments. And the reason why I think it's a virtual or information reality, because you can't divide anything smaller than Planck's length. So therefore, it goes
Right.
like a digital step, just like frames in a movie,
No,
But
And
as soon as we allow that, now you understand. As soon as we allow that, we will right away go into what you talk about, Cynthia. Of course, and then why these things are happening, and then it goes back to: are we creating our own reality?
well, also like with the new agers and with the positive thinking people, when they say set goals for yourself, you're visualizing of where you're going to be financially or in your health, and also the law of attraction. All of that connects together, just like what Jesus was saying about believing. It's not so much speaking it, but when you believe it, you see it as reality in your mind and stuff, and believe it,
Yeah.
then it starts affecting reality. And also, don't forget the placebo
Yes.
effect. There's a lot of people who believe that they're taking like a sugar pill and it's actually helping them.
no,
So all that says the same thing.
The magic
You
of
know,
believing.
no.
of con-
I just want
yeah,
to throw
exactly.
Cynthia on the Mobius strip effect, like where maybe we're where we are, but we're the shadow self, where the Mobius strip can never go back to our real reality. We're in a shadow self of what is happening, and we're stuck there. Maybe that's why things are changing. Like, I don't know if you know about that, but I've been studying it, and it's like it's not like a loop, but it's like we're in there's a different part of us that only can go to the future. We can't go back.
Well,
What's your take
actually,
on
the
that, Cynthia?
future changes the past when you really look at it. There's no difference
Yeah,
between
that's a causality effect and backwards causality effect when it goes backwards.
exactly. Because when you look at time, you can almost view as a spatial dimension to a certain degree.
Okay, now I have to cheat and ask you a question, Cynthia, if you'd allow me to.
Yes.
Full time to talk. I don't want to gang up on you. What is your view on the empaths? There's so many empaths that see it. Have you seen the number of empaths that see the Mandela effect, or those people that are empathic?
So what's your question? It's having to do with whether empaths in particular are more likely to.
Have you seen the great number of empaths, and why are empaths more likely to see the Mandela effect than non-empathic people?
That's a good question, and I'm not sure. It does seem like there's probably something going on, but I haven't done a specific survey or study on that in particular. So my observations would only be anecdotal. In other words, it's not something where I've tracked. When I say I've done surveys,
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as empathic people, and us being very open that way, well, us having that kind of an energy and a love for things, and a love for ourselves and other people, and having that compassion, right? As we know, we can manipulate things through your feelings, right? Through like when Dr. Emoto did the thing with water, how we can manipulate water and change water by feeling love and doing this kind of thing.
Yeah,
Well,
that's true.
Us being this way, we're more open. So we're beacons and we're like antennas to this kind of thing. So we're going to be more aware because
We're
of having
resonating with it more clearly.
Exactly.
And that
Yeah,
matches.
I would want to say on that
I agree with Ty that it must tie into empath, because everybody that I met on all these channels are good-hearted people, and I don't know. I don't see anybody that's part of this. They're not belligerent or evil or anything,
And they
right?
have no malintent whatsoever when we are all together.
See, yes, but more than that, the people that I see are borderline. They're either shamans, you understand, or borderline shamans. They're really good. They're really something. All the individuals that I met, from Joker to Alice, Brian, everybody.
Exactly.
They're all that way.
I've come across a lot of energy healers along this journey.
Either they know they are, or either they know they are, or they don't know. But either way, they are.
But they're gonna find out. Yeah.
They either are or aren't. But I mean, they're either aware of it or not. But they still are, regardless.
Yep.
A good person. A great example is Brian. Brian's a great example.
It's like unconditional love, you know? It's like unconditional love that everybody has a part of that. That's what makes it happen.
Right now, I have
Not
44%
selfless.
of my battery. An angelic sign. In numerology. But there's something I wanted to share with you guys about synchronicities that I come to find out, you know, and in my opinion, you know, it's events that occur in our consciousness being in harmony together. Necessarily good things, even though harmony is good, because anything can be in harmony. But harmony is constitute of perfection, and people with bad feelings will enter in harmony with similar vibrations. It's then, you know, good to notice how harmony exists in the world. Not to think that seeing synchronicities is necessarily the good path, but the good path is one which brings goodness to the whole world, and it connects to a higher harmony. What do you think of that?
I want to ask Cynthia about that very thing about frequencies. Do you think frequencies have something to do with it as well, Cynthia? And I didn't mean to cut you off, whoever. I'm sorry.
I honestly think so. I think we're all like, you know how ants, like, we're not ants, of course, but you know, ants in the ant mound, they can communicate with each other without talking. I do believe there are brain waves out there that we can pick up oftentimes with other people. Like, I know, like, here's an example, because me and Rena were actually talking. She's in our audience. Hey, Rena.
Hi, Rena.
Hi, Rena.
What's up, Rena?
Hey, Rena.
Me and Rena were talking on the phone. I couldn't see her. She couldn't see me. We were talking about these fidget spinners, and all of a sudden she sees one come up on the TV screen. It happens all the time. I mean,
Yeah, it's your frequency. Yeah, it happens. It happens quite a bit. You know, recently too, I was thinking about something totally off the wall, and then all of a sudden it came up on my computer, and I never said it out loud. I never typed it out. Nothing.
Well, this is what happens to me quite often. And just to give you one, Brian, same thing. I was thinking of a scene from a movie that I saw many, many years ago, and I couldn't really think of the movie, what it was, but I remember the scene. The movie from 1990, Total Recall, with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And today I saw the movie, and I saw the scene, and I said, I've been thinking about that very scene. This is the scene I was thinking about from 1990.
Wait, which movie was it?
Total Recall.
Oh, yeah, where they talk about him being lobotomized, right?
Yes, exactly. But it was a very specific scene from a very specific movie. It just happened to be on today. And so I was just thinking about that very scene. How strange. It's not even one of my favorite movies. I saw it once, you know. I saw it Schwarzenegger.
I've got a question for Cynthia, if I could.
Yes.
So, yeah, Cynthia, do you think, I've pondered this stuff so many times without conclusion, but do you think it's plausible that we might have other versions of ourselves, infinite numbers or a set number, in other realities that are having this chat right now, but for some reason I'm only aware of this one that I'm in right now. I'm only conscious of the me that's here, not the other ones. Do you think that's going on, or do you think it's something else, like it's just one universe and it's a simulated reality that gets hacked? Or I don't know. I've gone back and forth because some of these things feel like multiple dimensions, and sometimes it feels like it's the same reality that's just getting hacked from some outside force.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, my take on it is that it feels, I think maybe it's my personal bias, but I don't want to believe that I live in something as basic as a hackable computer simulation. I used to work in information technology, and
Oh wow, that's me.
so to me, this is like it's got to be more, and it feels to me we know it's more because you can have a real connection when you're in nature, and you can feel something beyond, something deeper than just any of the measurable qualities that exist. And I think that's the key, is knowing that we as human beings are so much more than our height, our weight, our age, our fortune, how much money we have. Anything that you can measure at all is almost trivial. And you might be able to program it, but you know, and you can feel there's a lot more.
I also think that the reason why the Creator gave us free will is so that we can make the lives that we want, and lives that would be good for us, you know, good to help other people, because I'm a big advocator. The more I help people, the better my life gets, you know, and it's not because I'm asking.
I want to answer the other part of the question too. Yeah, there's another part of the question that was worthwhile and really good, and that had to do with this idea, because that was the hackable piece, and I'm saying my bias is against it, but I do recognize the presence of artificial intelligence, and I do recognize that that's probably going to be a big thing for humans to reconcile and deal with. But I also feel that we need to be in a very positive place so that we can deal with that. But going to the, I think
when you said presence, Cynthia, what do you mean by presence? An intelligence?
Yeah, there's, well, artificial intelligence is going to be built based on those measurable qualities that I was talking about. And it's going to be basically, it's already happening. Scientists are developing robots like Sophia that was granted citizenship by Saudi Arabia a couple weeks ago. And this sort of thing is happening. But the trouble is, until an artificial intelligence system actually has the qualities that we can't measure, which is when you feel that heart connection, what we feel when you pray, when you feel like you have a true connection with God, with the divine. These are things that are not measurable. And I'm not saying that artificial intelligence won't have them, but I'm saying that as designers right now, we're building systems that they have qualities of consciousness in the sense that they're able to focus their attention. They're able to do some deep learning, working with algorithms. Right now, programmers are no longer doing the programming for these systems, but instead they have to train them like dogs. In other words, the programmers themselves don't know what's happening inside of the black box. So at Carnegie Mellon, which is one of the primary places where this research is happening, they're just basically feeling like they don't know what's going on when the code does something different. Because it used to be that a programmer could just say like, okay, hold on, I'll fix it. Now all they can do is unplug the AI unit.
Just imagine
I'm going
100 years from now, 100 years, 1,000 years, where does it all go?
Wow, that's interesting.
Okay, I just want to tell a story about, I think I told it on here before, but there's some new people here. But to me, the Mandela Effect started with a book and a movie and stuff like that. But when I'm looking back in my life now, there's two major crucial times in my life when I'm looking back now that I know about the Mandela Effect. I'm starting to wonder, because there was once I was going to go to college, and one of my best friends was going to be my roommate, and he all of a sudden come up to me like a day after and said, I said all this crap to him that I don't ever remember. And to this day, I don't. And I'm like, well, I never said that. And he basically stopped being my friend. And then a girl I was with for 7 years, her mother one day just come up to me, and she was crying and said, how could you say that to me? You know, like, and I don't even remember the conversation. Like, it was like there was somebody else there in my place. Like, and I'm like, I never, when I got into Mandela Effect, I didn't believe in simulation. But with all this, now I'm looking back, like all this stuff where this happened, I wasn't there. Like, I wasn't there. There was somebody else in my place, and I'm just starting to wonder. Like, you know, it's weird.
That's where you wonder what other realities.
I've had different instances of different historical past that people have talked about, and it's not the same. It wasn't me. What's your take on that, Cynthia?
So, can you repeat the question? It's
I've had the same as the gentleman that was just speaker.
People telling them that he's talking about when people are telling them they said something, but they didn't actually say it. They know that they're not the ones that said it.
Right.
Well, I haven't had. Okay, thank you for that. Yes, I've definitely noticed this phenomenon, and since the '90s, this is something I've written about, and I presented a paper on it with a co-author at a conference, When Worlds Collide. So it's on my website. It's reality. You can go to realityshifters.com and just click on my papers, and that's one of them that's there. So it goes into much more detail. But in a nutshell, absolutely, people will sometimes tell you that you said something you know for sure you did not say. And this is definitely something I've been tracking as what I call a reality shift. It's very unsettling often. The cases that you're describing are very upsetting because you don't remember ever wanting to upset someone like that, and yet you did. And I think these are the examples that tend to be most pronounced. I think lots of these things are happening all the time, but we often don't pay attention to it. And so when I gave this paper in the 90s with my co-author Anne Mene, it was about the idea of, and we actually role played when we gave our talk to present the paper at the conference to show what it's like when one person is absolutely certain that one set of circumstances occurred and the other person is absolutely certain that a completely different thing was said. And so often this can be the basis for arguments. It can disrupt families. It can break up friendships. And it's so important for people to understand. When I said earlier that we're in a new realm of logic, what I'm talking about is we're entering the quantum age. And quantum logic, it's no longer true or false. It includes fourfold logic. We've actually got categories of true and false, where it's not, it's true and it's false, and then not true, not false. And what I'm really, you may wonder, what is she talking about? What I mean is all these things are quite possibly true. So psychologically and spiritually, we have come to a point in human history where someone earlier said we need to be kind. It's kindness that matters. I completely agree with that. And it requires us to grow up. Yes.
No, I agree with you. But what's funny with what happened with me was it was 2 times in my life that it was when you're taking the left road or the right road. And it changed my life drastically. You know what I mean? It wasn't just some flicker of time. Like, what would my life be like? I'd probably be married with kids if I wouldn't have had that fight with her mother. I supposedly had, which I didn't, to my knowledge. You know what I mean? And it's weird how that
Cynthia, are you believing in fate? Is that what you're saying? I mean, does this make you a believer in fate, perhaps?
No. Well, I believe in God and believe in fate, but it's just weird that, to me, with the Mandela effect, somebody interfered with my fate.
Yeah. Well, my life was saved, and so many people have told me their lives were saved by an interfering voice or something that just stopped them from dying. Right. And where that came from.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I'll be honest, what? He doesn't remember it. He doesn't remember it. That's the point. He doesn't remember it happening. They're telling him it happened. And this is a juxtaposition for him because he doesn't remember the conversation at all. And this is a life-changing event. And he doesn't remember it.
I do have a confession to make, though. There have been times that I've screwed up around the house, with the wife and things, and I did blame it on a Mandela effect when it wasn't. I'm just going to confess it.
Aww, that's a funny guy.
Oh,
That being
God.
said, I've got to get up super early tomorrow morning to take her to the airport, so I probably should be leaving now. But I wanted to say what an honor it was to be on this chat with you all, and it was nice to meet you, Cynthia. And I've seen a lot of your stuff, and everybody here is just completely awesome. Thanks for having me on. And
thank you, Guy, for coming.
Yeah, we'll
Thanks
catch you
for
again
stopping
soon,
in,
hopefully.
dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank
Hi, brother.
you. It's so nice to hear from you tonight.
It was great seeing you. Thanks. God bless.
Right on.
Thank you, Guy.
That was cool.
Cynthia, I have a question for you.
Yes.
If you would be so gracious to answer. I feel like giddy talking to you because you're like one of the originals, if not like the original like reality shifter. It feels surreal to be able to talk to you. It's amazing. What do you think of the Bible changes? Or have you kept up with them very much or looked into it?
I haven't really tracked the Bible changes specifically, so I just view it. I think for me, the importance is that people really get in touch with the feeling. And so I've never been much of a literalist myself. Whenever I read something, I understand this was a translation, from the Dead Sea Scrolls, and then there's the King James Version and so forth. So I've been aware of that. And so every time I read the Bible, I feel like I go deeper into the feeling of it. But then I have to be honest and tell you, I'm not tracking the specific changes. I've heard of some of them about the wolves and so forth and the lambs. And I know it's very upsetting. And it upsets me too, because I'm human. And when a phrase changes, it's disturbing. But so many things change on a daily basis for me. And they have been since, for 20 years now, I've been fully aware of this phenomenon, daily aware of it. That means every day I'm noticing changes.
I know,
So,
I know how it feels because you know as well as I do is way back in the day. When you're a little girl, like same with me. I was I was exactly 1982 when I've seen the first one happen, and it was only because I was aware. You know what I mean?
Right.
And being that little, but then trying to discuss it with people that of course, my native side people, they all understood. But when you try to talk to people that, they automatically say we're crazy.
yes,
Like that.
I know.
So Cynthia, I went through, and I don't know if you were there that time when I was talking with Taryn about it, but I went through the whole, my friends telling me about my funeral crap.
Wow, that's
so I had to go get my death certificate. They had to destroy it. Then they tried to say, oh, it's a glitch in the matrix, kind of thing. They didn't say matrix at that time. They just said that they think it was a computer error, which I know it wasn't because my friends, my family, people that were actually there, they seen this, they planned this stuff, they spread my ashes for gosh sakes,
Wow.
That's incredible. I don't think I could come back from that.
Yeah, so then I put it out there and I asked people, I put it on Facebook one day. I said, did anybody else have this experience, with hearing about your own funeral? And this guy said he read his obituary 9 times.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine? 9 times. I say, okay, that trumps mine there.
That's pretty bad. Pretty bad.
So what do you think of that, Cynthia? About that part, with the it didn't scare me. It made me laugh kind of. But it wasn't until a few months later when I was asked to do an interview about this thing, and where I was with my friends, and then that made me cry because they went through all this heartache.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little bit disconcerting for me because I don't want to bring up the Mandela effect of these people that I've had contact with over the years, and then have them to bring up something. Did I marry them? Did I have children with them? What happened?
Right.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. It's very really. It's
Hopefully another person was really cool.
Real quick, guys, can I break in?
Yep. Yes.
Hey, Teresa Lynch, who has always been my co-host, she's been my residue hunter and queen. She wanted to meet you, to talk to you. She wanted to say hi.
Oh, good.
She's
Hi.
here with us in the evening.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, I think she's nervous. Teresa, you there?
Yes.
Hey, this is Miss Cynthia Sue Larson.
Hello, Teresa.
Hello.
Hello.
She was with me basically from the start.
I woke up about a year ago for myself. I mean, everybody has different times when they woke up, but mine was with Skechers, and it was crazy for me when I woke up, and a lot of like freaking out, right, Brian?
Yeah.
Like a lot of total freaking out. And I've had a lot of weird paranormal experiences recently that I've observed, and I don't know if anybody else observed, is I'm literally seeing things change in front of me in real time. I'm not talking about film or movie. I'm talking about actually seeing things.
Yep, change right in front of your face. I have too.
Yes.
I see that a lot.
You see that a lot?
Like observing, like I would, like I'm the type of person I like to hunt residue pretty much every day, and I've actually witnessed it in front of me, changing from a picture. Like Chick-fil-A, I literally watched it change in front of me from a still picture.
And what that's like is, okay, I don't know if you guys are familiar with these 4D business cards that they have now. And they're very expensive, by the way, if you ever get them made. But I plan on making them for the Mandela Effect community. That way you can hand them out to people, and it's like it's got this cool, like one side it's got Berenstain, and you turn it around the other way and it says Berenstain. I thought that'd be pretty cool. But it's almost like that holographic image when it comes to this residue that she's seeing it change before her eyes. It's almost like that. You know what I mean?
How about the Fruit Loops? Tell me about the Fruit Loops one.
The Fruit Loops one, I
posted.
saw that one change. It went from Fruit UIT to OOT practically overnight.
Right.
Same picture changed overnight.
Or seeing people disappear.
Yeah, I've seen people disappear too,
Us
walking
too.
toward me.
Yep, us too.
disappearing.
Yesterday was another. Last night was very recent too. I seen last night this guy was walking down my street, and then I shut my porch light on because I'd be able to see him again underneath the other street light, and he was totally gone.
Right, and I've seen people completely transformed also. Like I just glance away, glance back, and they're different.
They're different. Yeah. Me too, Cynthia. I wonder if it's like the longer you're awake, the more rapid it is, or if everybody's getting it rapid at the same time we are.
I don't know. That's a good question. But there is an effect. In Norway, they've got this effect called vardiger, which means that people arrive, you hear them and you see evidence of them before they actually get there. And it's well known enough that they've got the word for it. So it's a socially accepted phenomenon that goes back at least hundreds, if not thousands of years. And so these things have been observed, but just never at this, we've never had the opportunity before the internet to be able to, tell each other that, I'm noticing that too.
Yeah, and the music. Don't forget the music. When you hear music. Yeah.
Right.
I like that,
there's
though.
a couple of songs. There's a lot of songs actually that some of them I found on my own, but there's other people that pointed them out to me, like the Jewel song, "Who Will Save Your Soul" is now "Who Will Save Your Souls." That one's bizarre.
What?
Yeah. Oh no, I was talking about songs where you hear music when there's no music around.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Well, that paper I was telling you that I wrote the article for Parabola, it was about the Hopi Indians, and when I was working on the article, I'm not indigenous in any way. Maybe I've got some indigenous DNA, but it goes too far back to be significant. But anyway, it doesn't really matter.
It's all significant, honey.
Okay. So there's something in there. But anyway, after I worked on the paper and the article was pretty much complete and it was accepted for publication, I heard Indian flute music, and I was alone in my house. The stereo was off. And it was absolutely the most beautiful flute music, and it was real. But yeah, I think that was the coolest one I've heard. But there are lots of examples.
That's awesome. Yeah. You figure we're all cells from ourselves, right? So regardless, I mean, everybody's cut from the same cloth, right?
I think Teresa has a question. You say we're from.
Have you noticed the times? speeding up as well. That was one of the phenomenons that happened to me a few months after the Mandela effect. When I woke up, I noticed I lost time, and I'd come home, and I mean, I get out of work at 5 o'clock every day. I'd come home, and I'm literally lost an hour and a half. It's like time has been speeding up.
Yes. Well, sometimes
1,000. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. You can look at your cell phone and look at the seconds going by.
Yeah,
and it's
I noticed that also.
time in a day. It's not 24 hours. It seems like 16.
well, sometimes I get extra time. I'll do like an hour's work, look at the clock, and it's only been 5 minutes. So I've had that happen too. It goes both ways for me. You know, sometimes I lose hours. And
Cynthia, I've heard that too. I heard sometimes too. I was actually on the treadmill counting the seconds away, and I noticed it was speeding up.
Wow.
Way to burn the calories there, Brian.
So Brian, you were talking about, you know, songs changing, you know, that's a big deal to me considering I love singing. But what song were you just saying a second ago?
You know the song by Jewel, "Who Will Save Your Soul" is now "Who Will Save Your Souls." There's a song by Train, and it goes, your lipstick stains on the front lobe of my left side brains," is what he says now.
And
what does that mean? What does that mean?
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
The song is called "Hey Soul Sister," but I think the big one that connects everybody, actually there's two of them. Michael Jackson, "Smooth Criminal," you've been hit by a smooth criminal.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be "You've been hit by, you've been struck by."
Yep.
And then there's another big one. What is it? The City of Angel, when it should be the City of Angels. Yep. Red Hot Chili Peppers, "Under the Bridge."
Yep.
Ball game out there with music. Rena Jaceel actually for time on music too. So if you guys want, you could check out her channel, Rena Jaceel. She was in the chat earlier. And I had here, and Love Teacher brought up about RH negatives.
Right.
I wanted to ask anyone out there, has anyone noticed their blood type change?
Mine is RH negative. Yep.
No.
And how are RH negatives connected to the Mandela effect? Love Teacher wanted to know in the chat.
My dad is, but he doesn't see the change. So from that part of it, I don't know.
Well, I've heard that RH negatives are like really in tune. You know, like they're more psychic or whatever.
Have you heard the same thing?
The majority of my chat room is RH negative.
Wow! Oh my God, that's crazy.
It might be because I was born from them or something. I see it. I don't know.
But I've heard that like when a woman is pregnant. Okay, I wouldn't know this because I'm not a woman, but their DNA can actually change. I'm not sure if that's true, how true it is, but I've heard anyone notice it changed due to the Mandela effect. That's my question.
Well, I know my mom's the only one that sees a change.
I think
it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I'd say anything at all is possible to change, and I haven't had mine tested, but last time I checked it was RH negative. But what I've noticed about Mandela effect and reality shifts is everything is fair game, so anything at all could change.
Have you found?
I have a question for you guys. You guys would have to ask your parents or your mother this, but I was born on call. Right? Was anybody else? And what that means is you're born on call. It's when you're born, when you're still inside your sac, in the sac, you come out of your mother, and you're still inside your fluid inside the sac. Has anybody else been born like that?
We wouldn't know.
I know it sounds funny, but I was born that way.
Wouldn't know. Yeah, wouldn't know. That happens with animals. Animals. No, I was. My mother was RH negative, and when I was born, I had to have a blood transfusion immediately because I had the wrong blood.
Wait, Marlena, you were born like in an amniotic sac? You came out that way?
Yeah, it's called on call. E-N-C-A-U-L.
It's more common with animals.
Well, thank you.
It is. It's more common with animals.
I was just wondering. I've asked other people this because, yeah, I just want to know if that was a commonality between any of us. If that makes any difference, you know, it just might. You never know.
Well, I was adding on to what the RH negative question was before. My mother was RH negative, with what I was saying, and of course, my wife was RH negative.
That's rare.
Well, we talk about commonalities a lot. We talk about commonalities a lot, and we talk sometimes about palmistry, how the M is on the hands, and Rayne was the first one to point that out to me. Cynthia, I have a question. Cynthia, do you have the M? And also the question goes to Marlena. Do you have the M on your hand?
Yes, I do.
Incredible.
I'm both. Yeah, we talked about this before. I have it, and one of my hands, I still have the M, but I end up having an A on it now too. There's an A at the bottom where I never had an A before, so I have the M and an A.
Weird.
I know.
Do most people have the M now? Is that like a majority, or only
they don't.
Mandela-affected people seem to have an M?
Nope.
I got both M's.
I have both M's too.
Wow.
Weird.
I thought it was because I was getting old.
I have my handprint since little too, so yeah, I always had that M, I think. Well, as far as when I was at least, I think, 10 years old, and this one handprint.
Do we have any painters or artists out there who could answer some questions about sculpture changes?
Yep.
Yeah.
Remember? Does anybody remember like this Florentine hat that he has now?
What's the
thinker?
The thinker has a Florentine-looking hat now.
A hat?
This from the front view, you can see his head pokes out a little, and he has it looks like a hat, like one of those.
Really? Yeah, I know my sculptures, and I know when that changed from the hand moving. Yeah, that was different. Also, the Statue of Liberty. When I went to see her in October of last year, her feet were together, and then the next time we went, her foot was stepping backwards.
Oh, really?
And now it's stepping backwards, and the shackles were all broken in front of her before they weren't.
Really? I'm gonna have to pull that one up real quick.
And I heard that she's not facing the same way. I don't know if that's true or not.
And also, the fire on her torch is much smaller. On the torch, it used to be almost the same length as the torch. Yeah, and I see this for myself. I used to be able to sit where we lived in Brooklyn, and I used to be able to see her. Now you can't see her from Brooklyn Park.
Cynthia, I do have a question. Since you've been looking at these, what are known as Mandela effects for quite a while, longer than all of us, and you were alluded to the fact that maybe there was an intelligence behind it, but not necessarily an artificial intelligence, but at least an intelligence behind it. Have you noticed any commonality between them, like a male or female commonality, a positive or negative commonality between the changes in the Mandela effect? Because that's what we're looking at. We're trying to find some sort of commonality. Have you seen any commonalities between them?
Well, the thing that I've noticed is that there tends to be, as some people were mentioning earlier, that sometimes things will happen spontaneously and synchronistically in real time. And that's exactly what I've noticed. So that, to me, the connection is that consciousness is our true identity, which I think is a spiritual truth. And what I find is that consciousness is real, and the material world is, in a sense, it's kind of illusory. You know, it can change. Facts can actually change. History can change.
So we're in fact affecting reality.
Yeah, and I think we see the story when we look at our universe and we recognize how unlikely it is that we exist at all. It's on a factor of 10 to the power of like.
Well, I know this is going to answer your commenting on your answer, Cynthia. If a group of us empathic remember something in one way, let's say the letter A, we remember the letter A, and the other people remember the letter B and they have a history behind the letter B. That's the thing that really bugs me. Not only do they remember the letter B, they have historical. I remember when I was 5, it's always been the letter B. Are we keeping alive the memory A? Is it us, or are we not moving on? You see, I'm trying to understand why are we remembering when they are remembering something to us that seems false.
I think we need to ask the right questions, actually. And we tend to be so fixated on this material assumption that things are true or false. It's hard for us to break out of Boolean logic. It's hard for us to envision a situation where we're actually surfing through possibilities, and we are consciousness and we are connected. And, you know, these are spiritual truths that were talked about. But when we imagine like that's actually the way the world absolutely works, it's a little bit mind-blowing. And a lot of people have
that's the example. That's the example that I give, Cynthia.
Yeah, I don't know if I heard this wrong or not, but did you say you think we're here on accident?
No, no, we're not here on accident. There's no way that could be on accident.
I thought I was like, whoa.
Right, yes, right. Well, my example, when I try to explain to people, I said, this is the way it is for the Mandela effect for us. I said, Schroeder's cat, you know, is the cat alive or dead? It's both alive and dead until you look, and then you know. And we go, as Mandela effect being affected, we say, well, it doesn't matter what's in the box. We know the cat's dead, for example. We know the cat's dead. We don't have to look. We already know. And if we look in the box and the cat's alive, we would then turn to go, it doesn't matter that the cat's alive. We already know that the cat's dead. There's no convincing us otherwise.
And what I'm telling you is that we're getting stuck on the question, and we need to start asking bigger questions, because it's kind of like we're going in a circle. Like, is the chicken first or the egg first? And it's one of those problems that you can't solve. Is like the cat alive or dead? It is both. And so you have to go to an energy level above that in order to understand more, which means you need to understand that the real question isn't so much about the cat being alive or dead. It's just the connection that we have to the cat and how we feel about it and the essence of it. And it really comes back to kindness and the things you can't possibly measure and who we really are.
No, well, I agree, but this is like a Meg's question because she's so more intelligible to me, like in the Bible sense. So like, of course, we all see the music changes and we all see the book changes and movies and stuff like that. But I mean, is spirituality that much greater, like with the Bible changing? Like with the concept of that actually changing, like is that part of just what we're going through, or you know, like is God allowing this to happen, or like it's, you know, I can't answer my own question, but what do you think?
I think he's just saying, like, should we, you know, because there is a contention, there's many different spiritual texts, religious texts, and you know, people that deeply believe in those texts and say that clues us in on how we got here and where we're going. Should we give more weight to those changing, and specifically looks like the Christian Bible is the religious text that is changing the most intensely? And of course I'm biased to be caring about that the most, but it does seem like biblical prophecy is being fulfilled, and in that case that just points us in an entirely different direction of what reality is. You know what I mean? So like that's at least interesting to consider, the fact that they are manifesting in a very specific way, but I understand that you're looking at the much bigger picture.
No, like it's so weird because we got Cynthia, who is like a physics person, and you're a spiritual person, and I'm kind of like in between, like and we all have our own views on what's going on, but I guess it comes back to what Cynthia said, that we're all like we're looping around to figure out what's going on, and we can't find that bridge or what's going on, I guess.
Right. I understand, like, looking at the specifics instead of the big picture, but for me, the specifics paint the bigger picture. Like the painfully specific things.
I'm still thinking of what Cynthia said about the macro and the micro, and the people having a good optimistic viewpoint and controlling, having an effect on reality. And I'm thinking, well, that might be a few good people left, but the majority I don't have a really good feeling about. So are we headed for a lot of trouble? What's going to happen? Is it going to be Sin City everywhere? Is that what's going to happen? Are we looking at? What I'm saying is that, given the negativity that you see, Cynthia, do you think that would portend more changes coming?
I don't think we're Gomorrah here, but there is few good people left in the world that I see around me anyway.
Yeah.
What I notice is that some of the greatest energetic power, if you will, is always given to those who are in the highest level of spiritual resonance. And it may look like that's not true when you look at the news, but I would say that you can see evidence of it in just the way that the world stays together. And I'll tell you something that I don't usually publish, because I promised I would never put it in print. And I won't name names, but I'll tell you that I've heard, I have been tracking this phenomenon for 20 years through Reality Shifter's website. And I've heard from people who literally have seen the end of the world. And it really did happen for them. I'm not going to give all the details, and they describe it in a way that's quite convincing. But then they immediately are on the other side of that. It's like they danced into that possibility, and then they snapped out of it. They had a very strong, powerful, it's more than a vision. It was a reality where they witnessed nuclear annihilation. But then they basically considered that's unacceptable. I guess they don't know what happened, but then the next thing they know, everything's fine. And other very strange things have happened to people.
Well, Cynthia, you're right about that, because I mean how you laid it out. Because in my reality, I didn't have the world wars that people tell me that were here. We didn't have that, but I also come from a place where we don't live in doom and gloom either. Like we don't every month think it's the end of the world. But in my history, my personal history, going to, learning about history, we didn't have World War I and World War II like this. It was
different. Really?
We also didn't have, I'm not the only one. Like, this is, a lot of people. When I start talking about it, I get a lot of people that send me emails on, they remember too. They have, it makes me wonder if some of these things didn't happen and it was told to us to make it seem like things happened. Do you catch my drift?
Like rewriting history, like 1984 or something?
Well, that's almost, I see what you're saying, but I would say you actually came from that reality. I've been doing some genealogical research for fun, just, I don't know, just a pastime hobby. And one thing I've noticed is when I look through like high school yearbooks from 1917, 1918, the World War I years, I see a very big change in the tone and all of the way people write to each other in those high school yearbooks. And then when I look at the 1940s, the time of World War II, again, there's a huge change that happens. So it's quite striking, really noticeable. And I'm not,
like the same thing as 9/11. You have the same thing.
Yeah, you'll see that. But I totally believe you that you've been through. I believe that you have that past where there weren't any world wars, and I think that's really cool.
Sure. And there's quite a few people that I've talked with that are also from there. And when we talk about it, we have a lot of commonalities. There's like so many things that, me too. Those moments, those Me Too moments, happen quite a bit when we talk about it.
Have you seen, Cynthia, another offshoot question for you? And I don't mean to I don't mean to use a shotgun effect at all. I'm just asking questions as anybody on the panel, if you would be so kind. Do you see changes within the galaxy as well, the Milky Way, where we sit in the galaxy?
You mean asking me personally? I wasn't tracking it that closely, so I don't know. But it does seem like things have changed. I've noticed some changes, but that wasn't an area that I was scrutinizing. So,
right. Okay. Yeah, like I said, I've read your stuff, and you're very well spoken, and you tend to qualify yourself every time you talk. So you're used to talking to such a wide range of people because you tend to explain yourself very well. And that's appreciated, I'm sure.
Oh, thank you. It's so much fun being here.
Well, one thing
you're awesome, Cynthia.
One thing that I heard from with the Mandela effect is that we used to be on Orion's arm, and now we're in Orion's spur. So, I mean, I have obviously no information that I can back that up on.
The Sagittarius arm too. People say they're from.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
With me, with what was told to me, obviously, not was I was closer, and I even did a little map of it, closer to the center.
Right.
Yeah, that's what they say where we are. Yeah.
Not towards the back end.
She's saying where she's from. She's from the center. Obviously, she's not from the Sag arm. Obviously.
Yeah, I'm not from the Sagittarius arm.
She's not from the Sag arm. You can tell just by the way she's talking. That's what she's talking about. And that's what you have in this little group. You have people from different parts of the galaxy. They don't necessarily share the same Mandela effects, which was my first question to you, Cynthia. People that don't share the same kind of Mandela effect, and which led to the multiple universe theory.
Right. Exactly. String theory, even.
Yeah, which I don't like. It just is. It just is.
Yeah, I think I'd like to return to that original question because I didn't answer it very well. I sort of glossed over it, and I sometimes feel like I'm actually literally seeing genuine realities, like there are many possible me's, and it really does feel like that. And other times, it all feels like a waking dream. Like any particular reality that I'm in is just a possible reality. And so it's easier for me to acknowledge that all of them are simultaneously existing. But that's just the place I've gotten to after, a couple of decades of looking at it.
Since you've talked to so many people, Cynthia, I don't need to cut you off at all, Seeker, at all.
No. Go ahead. Sorry.
Follow-up question for you, because you've talked to so many people, Cynthia. We talked to just a closed group of people. We touched a lot of people, but still it's a closed group where your group is much larger. Have you dealt with, in the multiple universe theory, as of course those have talked about different histories, have you come across people that have dealt specifically with their own doppelgangers?
Oh my God, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was just going to ask her that next. Doppelgangers.
Well, I personally
think
it's really them. It's probably them, right?
Yeah, I have actually.
Back to the Future. That's
Yeah, I did actually meet. Yeah, I saw my future self when I was a teenager, and I write about it in my book Reality Shifts, because my future self came into my bedroom after I'd gone to bed. I wasn't asleep yet, and I didn't know what I was looking at. It looked like me, but older, and she kind of silenced me, kind of put her fingers to her lips, and then walked to my desk, opened a drawer, took something out, and I was talking out loud to her because it didn't occur to me to think quietly. So I'm talking in a regular speaking voice, and I mention that because it's I'll explain in a minute. Anyway, she just she came in through my bedroom mirrors. I had a mirrored closet, and then she walked out that way. That was me in the future.
How old were you?
I was about 16 years old. And
you'd have no understanding what a mirror is or anything. So
that was 1978.
Okay.
And so 1978, this happens. My father then enters the room because he's asking, he sort of opens the door quietly and slowly and then peers in like, "Are you okay?" And then I realized I was talking out loud and I didn't know what to say about it. I said, "I'm fine." But the whole thing, I mean, what am I going to tell him? It's like, because it sounds crazy. Like an older version of me just walked into the room, took something out of my desk and left. And the next morning I took the drawer apart and I pulled it out, looked inside, and And there really was something missing, which I've never subsequently found. It was a letter that I'd written to someone or that I'd gotten from someone, and it's just gone. So I still have the same roll top desk, but I have never done an experiment of trying to go back in time and be the other part of that equation. But some version of me definitely did that, and I think that was really interesting. And
that's fascinating. That's fascinating.
Here's another one, and I know everybody noticed this stuff. The sun not being in this proper place. The moon not doing the same trajectory as it always does. But I've done a lot of videos on the sun. Actually, it looks different also, but not rising and setting in the proper places. One day, and I'm talking about a big difference. I'm not talking about just, a couple degrees. I'm talking about 45-degree changes from day to day. Like 1 minute it'll be in the southeast, and then the next will be in the northwest. I mean southwest. I mean southeast. You know what I mean, right? Yes, have you noticed that?
Oh, you can see the chemtrails going over the supposed sun every day, and I'm starting to think, is it really the sun that's there? Because it's like white. It's white in color. It's not even the same sun. Like, it's weird.
Yeah, it's in the wrong place. It's setting in the south for me. It shouldn't. It should be setting in the west. But did you notice that stuff too, Cynthia, with the sun? Did anybody talk to you about the sun?
I've seen some small changes personally, but that's not something that I've heard a lot about. It's something I'm aware of, but it hasn't been a big thing. But like I said, anything at all can probably will change.
Yeah, it depends who you are too, right? Because you figure with me, she notices the Bible stuff because she's like into it. Like,
yeah, that's true.
And with me, I noticed this with the sky and these new clouds we have and stuff now because I'm a pilot. So, yeah. The thinker did not have a hat, by the way. His hair was curly. I keep looking at his hair.
Right. He didn't
Cynthia,
have a beanie.
you must be very excited at everyone catching up to what you've known about for years.
Right. You both must be doing backflips.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
it is wonderful.
Understand you now. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it's so cool. At family reunions, are you like, see, I told you, I told you, I told you, I told you, I told you?
Right.
We're just babies compared to these two.
Yeah,
I mean,
You guys are seasoned pros.
It's funny you said that because I always ask people, how old are you? In that way, right? I say, how old are you? But I'm, when I say it to them, it's how old are you in Mandela years? Like, how long are you? Yeah. But like you said, Cynthia, I never called it Mandela Effect either,
Yeah, what did you call it?
What's the call back then?
We just, it was life, right?
Yeah,
you call it life. You call it life.
Called it life. But as for when I talk to people, we used to say shifting. My brother calls it quantum shifting. He says it's quantum shifting because he's very scientific about the whole thing, right?
Spot on. I'd say that's really good.
I'm going to show you guys real quick so you can see the. There's that one. Okay. RealityShifters.com. You can pick up some of Cynthia's books here. You can check out her blogs. Contact her if you want to talk to her or reach out to her. You have the Marlena Effect.
The Marlena Effect.
Okay, I'm subbing to both you guys. Oh my gosh. I have to see Marlena's videos. Whoa.
I think, thank you so much, Brian, and thank you, everybody, and thank you, Migs. What it is I used to have a lot of videos, but that specific channel was shut down.
Oh my gosh. When did they shut it down?
I am re-uploading them, by the way.
They're not really shutting down as much.
They'll get to you.
It seems all the good channels are getting shut down.
Yeah.
So
it's a matter of time.
We got to keep
fighting.
Thank
you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been a great show.
Well, thank you for letting us.
Awesome. Great to meet you.
We're
so nice
we're
to see
so
you.
honored to have you on, Cynthia. We're
Yeah.
all really excited to meet you.
I did talk to you a few times when I used to help produce Taryn shows.
Yes, I remember.
Way
Yeah, you're
back.
awesome.
Yeah.
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 Cynthia, are you going to see the Mandela Effect movie?
Guys.
What movie? Who did the movie?
I'd love to see it. I haven't heard about it.
Huh?
Oh,
Yeah,
is it out?
there's a brand new Mandela Effect movie, 2018, coming out.
Are they making fun of us though?
Yeah, I think so.
It's probably Kevin Smith's probably doing it.
Well, you know what? We got to make our own movie, guys.
That's what I'm saying. We need to cast. I'm looking for some good cast members. You want to join?
We need to make our own movie. Yeah.
I'll give my story. I'll give you guys my story. You could use it for your movie.
I can play the Canadian guy up in the igloo, eh?
Yeah, I'll be the little Indian in the tent.
The trailer's already out?
In the teepee.
Oh, we got the
trailer. Is that a trailer?
Maybe.
Oh, you're kidding me! Oh my god!
I'll be the guy. I'll be the guy in the room with the dry erase board that no one listens to.
Madeline will be in her teepee and I'll be in the igloo.
Yeah.
Brian will be the guy on the
Is this
YouTube
the
channel.
official?
I don't know if that's the
official.
No.
That don't look like no Mandela Effect.
I know.
I think it's like
Taken
a
out.
more super high
What
budget,
the
like,
hell?
Hollywood.
I think
I
they're
don't know. That
using it
doesn't
for.
seem like
No, that's.
They made a very. There was a very
I
good
think
YouTube
he
video.
did clickbait. I think he did that for a clickbait.
But there was a very good YouTube video done on daylight savings time. It was great. There's a very. If you guys seen the comedic daylight savings time one, it was great.
No.
And I would love to see one on the Mandela Effect because you could have fun with it. You know, don't have to be so serious all the time.
Just for
I don't
our,
think we're serious all the time.
Yeah, I know. Me neither. I can't live serious. You know, if I did, it's not worth living if you can't laugh and you know.
Well, the thing is, right? You got to laugh because so many people are suffering so terribly.
Yeah.
Because their loved ones don't agree with them. Marriages are having trouble. Their relationships.
Oh yeah.
I'm telling you, it's sad.
Yeah,
I've seen you know, a couple guys get put away. You know, their parents put them in the mental institution.
Oh, that's the worst.
Is that they pretended that they didn't see this effect anymore.
Wow. Yeah, you would have to, I guess.
On me from the ether. Hold on.
From the ether.
Yeah,
well, I think we
says,
all sound incredibly healthy on here, so that's my personal.
All right, we're actually a little overtime here because of our guests, guys. I wanted to thank all of you tonight for coming on, and as well as people there in the chat. Thank you for being a part of this.
Oh,
and we're going to try to do this more often.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you for reaching out.
Hi.
Thanks, everyone. You guys are.
Yeah, thank you all very much.
God bless
you. You guys are great. You guys are great.
God bless you.
Great
God
night.
bless.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night, guys. God bless y'all.
Sweet dreams.